if you have to hide your Minecraft addiction by telling your parents that you're looking at porn, you might be a geek. Hi everybody, and welcome to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me, as always, this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how you doing?
I guess I'm doing okay.
Okay, all right. And joining us again, as usual, is our resident English person, Skyblaze. Skyblaze, how you doing?
I'm living in a box fort.
That sounds like fun. What's in the
It's
box?
not as good as it sounds. It's because I have to move house soon.
Yeah, Skyblaze is in the middle of a moving house, and as I understand it, she is with us tonight by hacking into a local Starbucks Wi-Fi connection. So,
Costa coffee, dear boy. I'm not going to bloody Starbucks.
Okay, all right. Well, before we get started, probably a bit of an explanation. You're probably wondering where our 100th episode and our Halloween spooktacular are. God knows I am. No, I'm just kidding. What's happened is we've had a bit of a snarl. Okay, so the story basically goes like this. In, I want to say, late September, we recorded the live portions of our 100th episode. And the intention was that we would take our between-season hiatus over the month of October and come back the week before Halloween with the 100th episode, and then the week after that, on the actual day of Halloween, we would have our Halloween special. Obviously, that didn't happen. On October 7th, I received an email from Blip Support Services. Now, those of you who follow a lot of online video producers, at least the ones that use Blip, you might have heard some rumors that Blip was bought out in the last year or so, and that after the buyout, they were taking the axe to shows that they said did not comply with Blip's terms of use and service. In its essence, what it boiled down to was shows that either were doing something that somebody else was already doing more successfully, or weren't drawing a lot of hits, or were podcasts like us. Now, I had been told that because my account was affiliated with Channel Awesome, that our Blip account would be safe and wouldn't get the axe. But I got an email on October 7th from Blip Support saying that my account had been marked for deletion, and that my upload ability had been revoked, and that I had 30 days to download all of our old episodes, or else they would be lost forever. Understandably, I was a little concerned about this, so I sent an email off to the head of Maker Studios, the company that now owns Blip, and explained the situation that, I'd received this email that my account was being deleted, that I was affiliated with Channel Awesome, that Blip was the only service that I had access to that would allow me to produce my podcast for Channel Awesome. And he said that he would send it off to support and it would get sorted out. And that my upload ability would be restored. So I, like a fool, thought that that was going to be the end of it and that everything was going to be fine. So we come to the end of October. We record our Halloween special. And I go to upload it to Blip to find out that our upload ability was never restored. I sent an email out. I sent another email out. I haven't gotten anything back. But I'm not really holding out hope on receiving anything. I honestly would not be surprised. I mean, as of right now, as I record this, our old archive is still there. You can still listen to the old episodes, but I'm not able to put anything new up on our Blip account. So as far as I can see it, the writing's on the wall. It's only a matter of time before Blip gives us the axe. I have gone in and downloaded all of the old episodes that I could. There's one or two that I was not able to download off of the Blip account, so I have to go through the episodes one by one on That Guy with the Glasses and find the MP3s for those episodes. But essentially what it boils down to is I was lied to. I was lied to by Blip. Full disclosure, none of this reflects in any way on Mike Michaud or Channel Awesome or anybody at That Guy with the Glasses. Michaud has actually been very helpful to me in this time. He's clued me in to some alternatives for video feeds, which you can obviously see I've gone through here, and he's also helped me set up he's pointing me some alternative services that I can use, and he's let me know that there were options available to me. So none of what I'm saying reflects in any way on Mike Michaud or Channel Awesome. I don't want anybody to think that. Channel Awesome has been home to us for several years, and they continue to be awesome to us. This is all on Blip, essentially. Blip told me one thing, did another, and I'm not going to play that game. And about the same time, we've been talking for a while about striking out on our own, and not necessarily leaving Channel Awesome entirely, but getting our own web space and sort of expanding ourselves beyond just the podcast. So we decided, this is as good a time as any to just go ahead and do that. So what we decided to do is start our own website. So in early November, I purchased web hosting and a domain for www.nerdtothethirdpower.com. Don't go there just yet; it's not ready, but it's there. And I've been working with longtime listeners may remember Tatch Kilgore. He was a tech correspondent for a few episodes back in season 2. He's come back on the team this time as our behind-the-scenes tech guy. And he and I have been working together to get a placeholder website set up so that we have a place for our archive, and basically making it so that we have a place where we'll be safe. This whole thing with Blip has cut the legs out from under us, and we want to make sure that never happens again. So the whole last month has basically been spent working feverishly to set up a home for ourselves, where we can put our stuff and not have to worry about anyone coming along and cutting us off. And God bless Tom. I swear to God bless the poor guy. He has been working feverishly over the last couple of weeks to get this thing up and going. And I'm pretty convinced that if I were to hook up an energy siphon to him, I could power all of Manhattan. That's the zeal to which he has applied himself to this project. So that's basically why this episode and the 100th episode and the Halloween special have been delayed for so long. Because, like I said, we've kind of had everything blow up, and we're kind of in the middle of rebuilding and expanding. So, as for where the Halloween special and the 100th episode are, you'll notice that the download link beneath, if you're listening to this on That Guy with the Glasses, you'll notice that the download link beneath the feed doesn't take you to a Flash MP3 audio feed. It actually asks you to download a zip file. That zip file actually contains not only this episode's MP3, but as well as our Halloween special and our complete 100th episode, which I have broken down into, I think, 4 or 5 part iPod-ready album. Because the 100th episode came out to be about 6 hours long, and I know that our listeners are faithful and they love us, but I think it'd be a little unreasonable of me to ask you to sit through a 6-hour podcast in one sitting. So I broke it down into nice little more manageable chunks that you can listen to piece by piece, if that's your preference. So that's where you'll find the 100th episode, the Halloween Spooktacular for this year, is in that zip file, along with this episode's MP3. So, yeah, that's that. And behind the scenes, like I said, we're working really hard on the website, gathering up, putting ideas together for what we want to put up on it. I can tell you, me and Kat have for a long time, we've wanted to get back into article writing, and Brian's got some ideas that he's been messing around with. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff on the website, and yeah, keep an ear to the podcast, and if you haven't followed us on Facebook, do so now. That's where you'll hear about it first. So yeah, that's that. But now on to other happier things. So let's jump into Ask a Geek, because that's always a good time. And we got a few here. First question. We actually got a couple of Lego themed questions here. First question comes from Jeremy, and it is for all of us, and he asks, how excited are we for the Lego movie? And Brian, I think we'll start with you.
I am uber excited. I remember the teaser trailer, I was like, this is amazing, happy clap. And then I saw like the full trailer, like, this is even better than I thought it was going to be, happy clap. I'm 6 years old.
You're adorable, and I want to pat you on.
It just looks like basically how I would play with Legos. Just everything's kind of mixed together and stuff is sort of happening.
I tell you what, speaking of the full trailer, I want to find an MP3 of the song that they play. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool.
That sounds fantastic. I will cop to being the ignoramus here. I have not seen the Lego movie trailer. I was only...
Leave my presence!
Shun the non-believer! Shun!
Leave now and do not return until you have seen this trailer.
Team love.
So, yeah, that is something that needs to happen then, isn't it? All right, fair enough.
All right, Kat, what about you? You stoked?
I am super, super excited. I think I about lost my shit when they're introducing, they're saying, and you, and you, and you, and you, and they're pointing at everybody, and then it's Michelangelo the painter and Michelangelo the Ninja Turtle, and then there's like fucking Batman, and oh my god, this is going to be the most amazing thing.
I will tell you this. When I saw that, and I actually saw that with Cloudy and the Chance of Meatballs 2 in the theater with my friends, full of children, and when they went, it said, and the 2002 NBA All-Stars. I pretty much fell on the floor laughing because it was just so hilariously random.
Oh my god.
My favorite was the 1980s space guy, because he's actually a real set. And I actually, when I was a little child, I had one of those sets with one of those little men in it.
Oh god, the 80s space guy? Is that what you said? The astronaut guy in the white suit with the red visor? He's gonna be in there?
Yeah.
That is badass.
No,
I had about 3 of them, but then I was a child of the 80s, so what do you expect?
Skyblaze, what about you? Are you Jones?
I don't seem to be as excited as some other people, but I'll probably go and see it. It looks like a good laugh.
Okay, alright. Second Lego question comes from, he signs his name Alo, and he asks, hang on a second. Alright, okay. He asks, what was everyone's favorite Lego set or theme growing up? So, Brian, again, we shall start with you.
The most I had a lot of the pirate themes and the knight themes. Those were really my 2 favorite ones. I think the knights slash like medieval ones more than the pirates. Mainly because I was able to build a castle, which is always cool. So yeah, I would always kind of like the medieval times and things like that were my favorite ones.
Okay. Skyblaze, what about you?
I'm trying to remember what it was called. I had like one of the Space Command ones that had like a bunch of domes. And I can't for the life of me remember what it was called. This we're talking kind of mid-80s here. But that was my favourite one. Although I must have had the most fucking schizophrenic Lego ever. Because my parents got it, and they used to get me like the Space Police ones and the Futuron ones and all this sort of stuff. And my relatives used to get me the ones that had like the cute little houses with the flowers and stuff in. But they didn't really know me that well.
I had this image now in my head of you playing with the little the cutesy girly Legos for a little bit, and then going off and coming back and reenacting like Independence Day with your girly Legos.
That's exactly what it was. I ended up with the little houses and the little Lego people going about their business, and then in comes the spaceship. Oh my god, it's an alien invasion! Everyone run!
Everything on fire. Everything.
Okay. Kat, did you grow up with Legos?
I did. I had girl Legos. I had some pink and purple sets, which are ironically my least favorite colors. Was that the proper use of the word irony? I'm totally spaced out today. But I still played with them all the time, and then I would play with all of my brother's Legos, and he had a lot of like plane ones, like fighter jet kind of stuff, and there wasn't when my brother and I were growing up, we didn't have like specific sets or anything because you took what you could get, and so we just got buckets. That was it, just buckets. But when we got older, my brother got all of the Star Wars sets, and I didn't touch them because my brother would fry me. But I loved watching him put them together. He would build like giant like Star Destroyers and stuff. Totally awesome. And then for a while, I worked at a Lego store. Not a really cool Lego store. It was it was when a million years ago when I worked at Walden Books. And they had like little kiosks, and so Walden Books ran a little Lego store where all they did was really sell sets, and we would quote unquote get some damaged ones off of our merchandise truck, which were basically anything we really wanted to open up and play with, and we would put together like the Harry Potter castle sets and stuff. Those were really cool. That's just actually what I really want now. There's a Lego store in my local mall, and all I want from it is sets, and all I want is like Lord of the Rings. Like all the Hobbits and Lord of the Rings sets just look so cool. Like the White Tower and everything. I'm like, I need this. I don't care if it's $200. I need this.
In my life.
All right, Brendan, what about you?
I was mostly space-themed stuff. You know, it's funny, you mentioned the spaceman guy from Space Command in the 80s earlier. That was one of my first Lego sets, was a little one with like a red spaceship, little blue dome, and rockets on all 4 points, like a compass. I mean, realistically speaking, it's just going to spin like a top and go nowhere, but it was a cool little thing. And, I mean, it wasn't just Space Command. I mean, I got in on Insectoids. I got in on Star Wars. Oh, God, Star Wars was so much fun. Like, my favorites there, I think, were the B-Wing from the mainline Star Wars and from the prequel trilogy, the Droid Starfighter. Oh, God, I love the Droid Starfighter. It was a hilarious little thing. I don't know why, but for me, not a whole hell of a lot good came out of the prequel trilogies, except for the droids. The droids that the Trade Federation and the Separatists and all of them used, those were some hilarious things. The one Lego set I still regret not getting was the Lego Technic Droidica that could actually fold up into a ball and roll around. And then you hit this little switch and it pops open.
Oh, my stepbrother has that one.
Lucky bum.
Yeah, I still play with Legos occasionally. If I see a set come out that I really want, I'll buy it. Like I just picked up, they reissued the X-Wing from the classic Star Wars line, which I missed the first time around, so I picked that. I snatched that up like a $5 hooker this time around. If I may brutalize a metaphor. But when I was growing up, I grew up. Lego didn't acquire all the licenses that they have now until like the 2000s. So in the 90s, when I was really big into Lego, I had to build. If I wanted to play something specific out of one of my fandoms, I had to build it myself. And the ones that I got the most common stuff for was either pirates, castles, or I got a couple of the space sets. So if I want to do something, that Lego didn't have sets for, I had to make them myself, which is, kind of where all the fun was. And some of the stuff that I would build, I mean, they'd be crude, but I had a lot of fun with them. Like one time, I tried to build the DeLorean from Back to the Future out of Legos. And, for 10 years old, I did a pretty passable job. I managed to, make it so that the doors would open up upwards and, made it look somewhat like the old DeLorean. And then, one time I just took apart all of my sets, put them together into one big set, and called it Hyrule. And I played Legend of Zelda on my living room floor.
Why did I never think to do that? That's awesome.
So but if I had to pick one set that I loved the most, it was when it was just after Lego got the Star Wars license, and they came out with these two masterpiece sets, which were these huge complex sets, and one of them was an X-wing and the other was the TIE Interceptor. Well, I got the X-wing set for Christmas the year that it came out, and it took me a solid 3 days to put this thing together. And I don't mean like I sat down for an hour one day, put together a few pieces, came back for an hour the next day, put together a few pieces. No, I mean like I woke up in the morning and spent the next 12 hours just working on putting this thing together, going back to bed, lather, rinse, repeat the next 2 days. Put it together, and it was beautiful, and it had its nice stand with its, commemorative plaque and all that, and I set it up on my bookshelf. Well, there was a cat in the house, and
no!
I'm pretty sure Kat already sees where this is going, having two cats in her house.
I see where this is going.
You don't have cats in your house. You do things in their house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we had a cat in our house, and it decided one day that it was going to climb up onto the top of my bookshelf and just kind of explore, and it knocked the X-wing off the shelf, sent it crashing to the floor. And I don't know if I wound up like losing pieces or something, but I never had the heart to go back and put it back together. So that X-wing still sits in my Lego bin, broken and disassembled, because I've just never had the heart to go back and put it back together again. Because I don't know, it's like when that happened, like I felt like a relative had died. So
it rests in pieces.
Yep. Okay, next couple questions come from Kai. And this first question is, I'm a big fan of music, especially scores from all mediums, but I always find it hard to find video game and anime soundtracks available legally. I know I could import a CD from Japan, but I don't know if CDs are region locked like some things tend to be, and I don't want to resort to converting YouTube videos to MP3s. How would you guys recommend going about getting your hands on music? So, Kat and Skyblaze, you two are probably most familiar with the foreign music scene, so maybe you can answer his question. Yep. I think Skyblaze had a
yeah, go answer. For it,
okay.
Skyblaze.
I run among the number of other things I do, I run a club night for video game and anime music. So I actually have quite a lot of music from various parts of Japan. One of the best ways of getting it is actually getting the album. If you're going to get CDs, go to Amazon Japan. Get it from there. CDs are not region locked. Some of the kind of if they're a media CD, which occasionally you get, some of the stuff on there might be, but for the most part, it's not a problem. You can play it, rip it, do whatever you want with it after that. Some CDs are available in America and Europe. For example, Crush 40, not that I'm biased in any way, have done CD releases in the US, so it's worth looking. I think X Japan have done stuff in the US as well, but I could be wrong. But usually it's worth, if you're going to import from Japan, check out Amazon Japan. It's probably your best bet. Or look at iTunes, because quite a lot of stuff is available internationally over iTunes.
I was actually absolutely going to suggest iTunes, since it's something where you don't have to convert your currency and you don't have to worry about shipping or anything. I've bought some anime music and some J-rock music off of iTunes, and one of my friends is buying a bunch of Korean K-pop off of sorry, that was a little redundant, Korean K-pop. She's buying a bunch of K-pop off of iTunes. One of my other friends who absolutely needs to have her CDs, she likes to actually have the discs. She orders off of CD Japan. You can just do a Google search for it, but it's cdjapan.co.jp. And she buys like all of the the latest actual like J-pop, J-rock CDs, but you can buy anime soundtracks and all kinds of stuff off of there.
Okay. And if, going back to your question about region locking, if lightning strikes and you do wind up getting a CD that's region locked, usually with a little bit of fiddling with your device settings, you can actually change the region on your computer CD drive. So with a little bit of fiddling, you can sidestep that.
Quite a few CD drives will only let you do that a limited number of times, though.
Yeah,
so be careful about doing it.
Twice, I think it usually is. Change it once to the other thing, change it back.
Alternatively, just buy another CD drive and have that as your international CD drive.
Yeah. Okay. And second question, he says random question because random questions are the best questions. Favorite alcoholic beverages? And for those who don't drink for one reason or another, favorite sounding drink based on the name alone. So since Kat and Skyblaze are the resident lushes, let's start with them.
Thanks. I don't like beer. I'll say that out loud. I don't really care for it. My dad is a home brewer, and I will drink anything that he makes. I may not enjoy it, but I will drink it. And I do sometimes. But anyway, I really like flavored vodkas and such and so forth. And I'm really obsessed right now with like the honey whiskeys. But probably my favorite drink is something that I make every fall, where I make my own like warm hard apple cider, and then I put various delicious bourbons and there's something called Applejack, which is not just a My Little Pony. There is an actual liqueur called Applejack, and that or the there's an apple orchard or something. Anyway, it's an apple cider liqueur that if you put into apple cider tastes freaking amazing.
That sounds an awful lot like what we would probably call apple brandy. It's not actually brandy; it's apple liqueur. It's actually. If any of you read Terry Pratchett and you come across references to Scumble, you know, the drink that's mostly apples, that's what they're generally talking about, and it's terrifying. And delicious. But you will lose the evening. It will go away.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like what happened to me at the Brocus Helm concert. Oh, boy.
But my favourite alcoholic drink, given a choice in the matter, it'd be Morgan Spice Rum and Coke. That will be what I will have.
Can't go wrong there. Yeah, can't go wrong.
Captain and Coke. That's a good combination.
I usually go for Jack and Coke over Captain and Coke, but both are excellent choices.
Although I developed a taste for Malibu and Coke when I was in college, which is a really peculiar combination that you wouldn't think worked, but somehow does. Incidentally, Kat, we've got some toffee vodka over here that I should introduce you to because it's delicious.
That sounds really good. That
sounds delicious.
In America, we have donut vodka, so...
What?
I did not even know that was a thing. It sounds terrifying.
Yes,
there's a
of
bar.
Course you do.
There's a bar.
You have cheese in a can.
There's a bar in Austin, Texas, where all they serve is different flavored vodkas, and it goes from the normal to the ridiculous. So yeah, we do have stuff like that. I think one of them was pickled vodka. We're like, no.
Wow, why would you do that?
Why?
I didn't drink it. I don't drink vodka.
Pickle vodka? Dude, at that point, you're just drinking embalming fluid.
Now that just reminds me of the club we go to locally. There's a club in Sheffield called Corporation. It's the only kind of alternative club in South Yorkshire. Corporation's one of those dives. You know, you walk in and your feet stick to the floor and the walls are black and the floor's black and the ceiling's black. And it plays like heavy rock and metal and stuff.
Sounds like my kind of place.
It's awesome, but it's also a dive, and we are fully aware of this, but fuck it, it's our dive. But the type of vodka they sell there, Corporation Vodka is infamous across all of Sheffield. Because it is good for two things. Degreasing engines and killing brain cells. You can buy it for 60p a shot.
Oh, man.
That's about $1.
Yeah, that sounds like it's really high quality stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, Brian, what about you? What's your booze of choice?
My usual go-to is just basically kind of Jack and Coke. Scotch, I do enjoy. I had real Scotch for the first time over my brother's wedding in Vegas because a friend of his lives in Scotland, so he brought some over, and I had that for the very first time, and that's a wake-up call. You kind of going, what the hell have I been drinking all these years?
Like, how's the taste of it?
I don't remember the taste. I do
because
remember,
he had some and then he died.
I do remember when he poured me the glass, because he gave me very little. I was like, this seems not like enough. He goes, no, trust me, that's enough. I was like, all right then, drink. Oh shit. So my Scotch or kind of the Jack and Coke. I've had Jack and Dr. Pepper before. It's actually not a bad combination, but usually I'll stick to Jack and Coke.
That I've had, Jack and Dr. Pepper. Brendan, what about you? What's your beer of choice?
Well, as far as beer is concerned, I'm a bit of a snob. I don't like, Miller or any of the canned beers. I like something with, actual substance and flavor. So it's usually more along the lines of craft beers for me in that regard. I mean, Sam Adams, Stone, any of the really niche stuff. I mean, aside from Sam Adams, that people usually look at me and go like, "What? What is that? Why are you drinking that?"
The term you are looking for, Brendan, is real ale.
There we go. We go. I knew there was
porters.
a reason I liked it.
Yeah, you're looking for not piss water.
Yes,
Brendan,
exactly.
remind me at some point to kidnap you and bring you to Sheffield, where we have no less than 3 real ale producers, which sell in pubs. And I'm not talking kind of little back street kind of tiny pubs. I'm talking mainstream high street pubs.
Ooh, we've
including
got a
the
restaurant.
Students' Union.
Oh man, okay. You know what? Never mind. I was going to talk about this restaurant that it's based near where I live that brews its own beer. But I mean, if this shit's showing up to the Student Union, no, you may not even kidnap me. I may just jump a plane and fly over there myself. Anyway, so yeah, beer's good, obviously. I really, really like wine, and if I'm gonna drink some of that, I'll typically go for the red stuff over the white. And as far as harder liquor's concerned, I don't venture into that vicinity too often. But when I do, as the rest of you have stated, Captain and Coke, Jack and Coke, good combination.
Okay. Well, as Kat will attest, I rarely, if ever, drink. But there are a few things that I will imbibe on rare occasion. I'll have a couple shots of vodka. Although I tend to take it just straight. I don't tend to put anything in it. I have this kind of paradox where I hate the taste of alcohol, and yet for some reason I love mead. I don't know why that is.
Because mead is amazing.
I got a buddy. He every year he brews his own mead, and it's amazing. I swear to God. So vodka, mead. Every now and then I might get myself like some Smirnoff Ice just to. I mean, I know it's a candy beer, but I mean, I'll get it for like if I'm throwing a party or something. I'll tell you what I'm never touching. I'll tell you something I'm never fucking touching again. Aside from tequila, which Kat already knows that story, but there's another story that occurred to me recently that she doesn't know, or at least she doesn't know the whole story. And I won't tell it on the air, but the bit that pertains to this conversation is every year for my birthday, a couple of my friends, they drag me out to a heavy metal concert and we have a good time. Well, George, one of my friends this year, he brought a bunch of flasks filled with various types of Faygo, which for those who don't know, that Faygo is really cheap soda that comes in just about every flavor under the sun, mixed with vodka and I think a little bit of bourbon. I'm not entirely sure. Ooh, send me a message. Oh,
that was Skyblaze. Sorry, for me.
Okay. And the thing is like they didn't tell me that there was alcohol in these things, so I just thought it was just like bitter soda. So I took one of these flasks and I just downed the whole thing. And I've got like no alcohol tolerance. And so I had like 2 or 3 flasks of this stuff and woke up the next morning after a very out of character night, which I will not recount here, with no memory of the previous night. So, yeah, George, fuck you. I'm never touching that shit again, if you're listening. So, yeah. Okay. And let's see. The last question here, I think in the spirit of the 5th of November, which is when we were recording this, is for Skyblaze from Denise. And she asks, are there any good anime set in England? I think this probably should have been directed more towards Kat, but there we go.
Probably. The only one I can think of offhand is Hellsing.
Well, there's Black Butler. Yeah. Black Butler is set there. God. I mean, there's a lot of anime that are set in, like, quasi-Europe, where it's not specifically said where it's set, but it's a European-ish setting, of which there are numerous. I might have to Google this.
Go, Google it. Lelouch v. Britannia commands
Yes, unfortunately, just because I'm British, it doesn't mean that I know every single thing that's set in the country.
And,
I wish I did, because that would be really useful in pub quizzes.
And she's got one more question for you, Skyblaze, which is how badly do the rest of your hosts make fun of you every 5th of November?
Are you making fun of me?
Not nearly as bad as we probably should be.
I try not to as much.
I think I'm racking my brain. I can't recall because I know I've given you guff on a lot of things, but I don't think I've ever given you trouble. I don't think I've ever teased you about the 5th of November.
Yeah, the thing is that it's very, very easy to take the piss out of the 5th of November. And bonfire night in general, because we have a night where we have giant bonfires and let off fireworks and burn the effigy of a Catholic.
Now see, everything aside from the setting things on fire sounds pretty much like the 4th of July over here.
Do you burn effigies of Catholics on the 4th of July?
I said everything
it
except
depends on the party you go to. Some people are into that.
But yeah, to celebrate somebody trying to blow up Parliament. Because we don't celebrate the day that Guy Fawkes was executed or anything. We celebrate the day he tried to blow up Parliament. I think that right there says a lot about us, to be honest. And yeah, a lot of my friends have a tradition of watching V for Vendetta every November the 5th. Unfortunately, all of my DVDs are in boxes at the moment, so I didn't get to participate in that this year.
So, basically like how my family and some others that I know have this tradition of watching Independence Day every Independence Day.
I guess so.
Yeah. That's kind of funny and awesome.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, alright, well, that's all the Ask the Geek questions that we have for this week. As always, you can send them to us through the email at billysmith@channelawesome.com. And with that, we're going to hop right into our Correspondence Corner, starting this week with Brian. Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzo, and welcome to this week's Multiverse Headlines. Now, I'm starting off these headlines on a bit of a somber note that I have to announce that over the weekend, the comic book community lost another great one in Nick Cardy, who unfortunately passed away at age 93 because of cardiac heart failure in Florida. Hardy is best known for his work as an artist in the 60s with DC Comics. He did a lot of work for Aquaman and for Teen Titans. Did a lot of work for Teen Titans, so much, in fact, he's considered the artist for the book. No one could really draw them any better. He's greatly inspirational to a lot of young artists back in the day, and probably still extremely inspirational if you go and look for his artwork. He was inducted into the comic book Will Eisner's Comic Book Hall of Fame back in 2005, and he will be missed. Now, moving on into the actual industry itself, I missed a lot of news over New York Comic Con because we had to deal with the 100 episode and all that kind of good fun. But there was a lot of news coming out from Marvel's camp. They had a lot of teasers going in the New York Comic Con, and they ended up being A, either new books, B, same books getting relaunched, or storylines in current books. The new books, like the new She-Hulk. They are also relaunching Captain Marvel with Kelly Sue DeCornick, a little over a year since her book first debuted. And they're also going to relaunch Secret Avengers with a new #1 with a new writer, Alex Cott, only barely a year since that book debuted for Marvel Now, as they're doing their new Marvel Now initiative come the following year. A lot of new storylines going to be coming out, like with Superior Spider-Man having to deal with the Hobgoblin, the trial of Jean Grey. We're not sure how that's going to play out just yet. Also, the resurrection of some different characters. Nightcrawler, the original Nightcrawler, will be coming back to life. In fact, it's probably coming back to life sometime this week. But the bigger news actually happened earlier this week, is that there's going to be a new Miss Marvel comic book coming out as well sometime next year in February. See, Carol Danvers, the original Miss Marvel, got promoted to Captain Marvel, so Miss Marvel was not being used at all. But there is now a new Miss Marvel, and in a shock, well, not really a shock, but in a surprise, it's going to be a teenage Muslim girl, a brand new character who is a fan of Miss Marvel and thus will be taking on her namesake moving forward. The title is going to be actually written by G. Willow Wilson as the new writer for this. It's actually an interesting step in Marvel's direction, as they actually went to her and asked for the title, not the other way around. It's a rarity in the industry. Moving on, though, besides Marvel having some of its sort of news coming out of New York Comic Con, DC wasn't alone. Their biggest news, though, didn't come in the form of comic books, but where they actually make the comic books. It was reported from Bleeding Cool, and I'll have to say it came from them first, otherwise Rich Johnson will show up into the comments to remind everyone. But yes, they reported that DC is going to be changing offices from New York to Burbank, all the way across the country. It was then confirmed later on by DC Entertainment President Dana Nelson. So far, the news is that they're offering everyone a chance to be moved to California to the new Burbank office, but not everyone has to accept it. So you actually might see a lot of movement around of different editors and so forth like that. This is for staff really only, not necessarily the freelance writers and artists, as in this day and age, most freelance writers and artists actually just work out of home or out of a studio with other freelance artists and writers. This will not happen, though. The actual physical move will not happen till about 2015. So they're giving sort of a year head start to put it all together and then move out there. Some of the main staffers, like Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, they already live on the West Coast, so obviously they're not going anywhere. As to other staff members, the DC offices, I wish everyone there good luck. Being asked to move completely across country is a very hard decision to make, especially if you have a family. So I feel for everyone there at that office going through this time and sort of weighing out their possibilities and their future. I can only barely imagine the effect that may have on you. And DC is actually doing a lot more news. Since tonight we're talking about television show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., DC is not really alone. I've talked about Arrow before on the show, and then there's also possibly the pilot of Flash coming up this season. Also in the pipeline looks like to be a Constantine show, maybe dealing with NBC. Fox is possibly developing a Gotham PD show. That's Gotham without a Batman. It'll be focused more on Jim Gordon. And then just announced recently this week, the CW, not wanting to feel left out, is trying to develop an Our Man TV show. An Our Man is a very old Golden Age character that's played different parts throughout the years by different people, but he's mostly known for his Justice Society of America teamwork. So it's going to be interesting to see all these different TV shows showing up. You might actually get a point. We may just have a lot of superhero shows on TV. I mean, real ones, not like The Cape or Heroes. Also announced over the weekend in a surprising move, creator Bill Willingham has said he's going to be ending his long-running title, Fables, at issue 150. Fables first debuted for Vertigo back in 2002 and has since been a critically acclaimed series with several spin-off secondary series, novelizations, and now, most recently, a video game tie-in with Telltale's A Wolf Among Us. The reason for this sudden stop of the series, Willingham, at age 60, has said he's going to go into a semi-retirement and only work on projects he feels extremely close to. It is a sad day, but at least he's ending this series where he feels like it's the best, and it's possibly ending it at the height of its popularity and not overstaying its welcome. I will severely miss Fables. I actually came into it late in the game, but it's been a fantastic read, and if you enjoyed Telltale's game, now is a perfect time to start picking up the series. They have several deluxe hardcovers you can find easily at your local store or on Amazon.com. Well, I'm sort of rambling along, and I'm very sorry about that, and I don't have too much news else now. Hopefully I'll have some more next week. So that's it for me here with the Multiverse headlines, and I'm going to turn it over to my tabletop playing correspondent, Brendan. Brendan, take it away.
Thanks, Brian, and to everyone else, welcome. As you've probably figured out by now, this is Brendan the Blast Seeker, and I'm here with your regularly scheduled summary of the state of play in the tabletop world. We've got a lot of information to cover, and only a few turns to do it in, so without, I'm afraid, any ado whatsoever, here is the current board position for all of your favorite gaming needs that don't come with a power cord. Alright, I'm gonna level with you all here. It has been a while since we had an update on the state of play. So, keeping that in mind, we're going to start today by covering the basics and getting you up to speed on our most prominent performers. First up, as always, is Magic: The Gathering. As many of my fellow cardstock addicts can tell you, while the officially espoused variants of play are a good way to ensure semi-balanced fun for everyone, it's the fan-created formats that really spice up just about any game. If you were to inquire further, specifically into the domain of fan-made formats for Magic, yes, I know this is a very specific stretch, just work with me here, you would undoubtedly be pointed in the direction of Elder Dragon Highlander, an outrageously, hilariously popular style of play that arose organically from Magic's judging community. Primarily known by the abbreviation EDH, the format's name is a portmanteau of the 5 Elder Dragons of Magic lore and the classic Highlander movie and TV franchise, because except for basic lands, there can only be one of any given card in your 100-count deck. There are, of course, more rules and player options unique to the format that we won't cover here right now, because the relevant information is not how to play the format, but who plays the format. Specifically, the card creators at Wizards of the Coast picked up on the EDH craze about 2 years ago, and they liked it so much that the company began producing its own line of special cards designed for the format. Due to copyright issues, WotC rebranded the format as Commander, but the rules are still the same and are, for the most part, still in the hands of the community. In fact, the latest installment in MTG's Commander product released officially on November the 1st, or just this past Friday in layman's terms, and it looks glorious. Not just for Commander players either, mind you, because these things are packed with reprints of valuable older cards, in addition to 15 brand new cards in each 100-card deck that are specifically geared towards multiplayer games. The best part of all this is that since Wizards has recognized this is such a popular product, Commander 2013 will be available as a wide release product with an unlimited print run. What that means for you listeners is that if you're hearing this on November the 8th or later, then not only is this year's Commander product already on the shelves at your local game store, but it's probably in stock at the nearest big box retail store as well, so you don't need to pay through the nose to get one. If you want more information on Commander 2013, check the product subsection of the trading card game area at www.wizards.com/magic. Or if you just want to see if EDH, Commander, or whatever you want to call the format is right for you, go have a look at www.mtgcommander.net. Of course, Magic's most visible competitor for the title of King of Card Games has not been content to rest on its laurels either. In addition to some new large events planned for comic conventions taking place in the next 2 months, Konami Digital Entertainment is launching one last Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster Expansion series for this calendar year. Set to drop this Friday the 8th of November, Shadow Spectres is a little late for Halloween but brings 100 cards worth of powerful scares to make up for it. Official releases boast of fresh support for vampires through a wave of new monster, spell, and trap cards, and the ever-popular circle of monarchs is also said to be expanding with the arrival of the first of the super monarchs. Now, I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh! Seriously for quite some time, but I sure as hell remember the monarchs. Starting with Zaborg, the Thunder Monarch, they were the gold standard for single tribute effect monsters, doing something right away when they were summoned, but strong enough in terms of raw attack power to stick around afterward and maybe even do some damage while they were at it. The prospect of upgrading those already powerful cards seems terrifying indeed. Xyz and Synchro monster support in the form of new Noble Knights and other archetypes round out the official announcements, but we're also close enough to the release of Shadow Spectres to sniff out a few other rumored inclusions as well. A reminder, even after sources are checked, rumors can be very difficult to confirm, so take all of the information that follows with a grain of salt or two. That said, it looks like Archfiends are poised to make a comeback alongside their zombie and vampire brethren. One particularly strong-looking trap card, the name of which is said to be Sinister Yorishiro, enables you to normal summon one high-level fiend monster per turn without sacrificing any monsters as tributes. On top of that, this same trap also lets you sacrifice it to save one of your own fiends from being destroyed. If main deck spell and trap removal isn't already a thing, it seems likely to become so thanks to cards like that. And thanks to cards like Secret Sanctuary of the Spellcasters. While not as blatantly powerful as Sinister Yorishiro, the fan-favorite Sanctuary was showcased on at least one occasion on the original TV show, giving it a much higher profile. It also has the potential to be quite annoying, for if you can fulfill its requirements, the Sanctuary will protect you from opposing monsters' attacks and effects on the turn they are summoned. In addition to all the cards and archetypes mentioned thus far, there also appear to be new Dragon-type support monsters that are about as bonkers as you'd expect, and the theme of interplay between light and darkness continues to run through this booster series as well. So, a lot of information there, but the takeaway is this. If you're listening to this podcast on November the 8th or later, Yu-Gi-Oh's Shadow Spectres booster series is now available for purchase at your local game store. It contains 100 cards in total, and it looks pretty nice. I'd advise moving on this if you feel like cracking some packs anytime soon, though, because as previously stated, this is the last new card release this year for the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. What? Already? Damn. Well, the good Dr. Gonzo has once again progressed from making slashing motions across his throat to attempting to make them across mine with a very sharp razor, which probably means it's almost time for his headline segments. Before I go, though, please let me take a moment to ask, as always, for your opinions. What did I miss or skim over that you would have rather heard more about? Alternatively, should I shut up about card games just for once in my life? Kindly direct your comments, concerns, and vitriol to our Facebook page or to my own personal address for N-Cubed correspondence, blastseeker@outlook.com, and I promise I will not ignore it completely. Next session, we'll try and get some pen and paper news squared away, but until then, this is Blastseeker Brendan reminding you that while the number 100 may be your enemy, the dice are always your friends. They're all yours, Doc.
All right, and thank you, Brendan, and thank you to all of our correspondents for helping make Nerd to the Third Power as awesome as it is. And with that, we're going to jump right into our headlines, starting as always with the cat. Cat, take point.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Dr. Gonzo. Well, because my section is kind of the obituaries, I do have a lot of really not happy news. Mangaka Kazuma Yanuari passed away 2 weeks ago due to liver failure. He was in high school when he won the Gag Comedy Award from Young Magazine, where he would make his publishing debut a year later. His Taberema-sen 4-panel manga has been in publication for almost 20 years and will end in November's issue. He was 36. Anime and manga creator Yanase Takashi passed away October 13th due to heart failure. Yanase's primary body of work was Anpanman, a children's franchise which has been serializing as a manga since 1973 and as an anime since 1988. 25 films, 23 shorts, 25 Christmas specials, 41 video games, and the anime sits at almost 1,200 episodes. The titular character, Anpanman, was voted most popular fictional character among children for 10 consecutive years and is heavily merchandised on a variety of products. In addition to creating one of the biggest children's media franchises in Japan, Yanase was also a lyricist, illustrator, and made occasional voice cameos. He served as the head of the Japan Cartoonists Association for 12 years, only retiring last year due to his health. He was 94. Rumors are flying after the Josei Jishin Women's Magazine reported that beloved anime director Hayao Miyazaki visited a Tokyo hospital for a heart condition. According to a source at the Cardiovascular Specialty Hospital, Miyazaki had received a medical exam there in mid-September. The article in Josei Jishin quoted an anonymous source claiming to know Miyazaki well. He's been complaining of discomfort in his chest for 2 years, the source says. According to the doctor's diagnosis, the doctor had a strong suspicion that he has angina pectoris. Rumors have been running amok since his retirement last month that health issues were the real cause of his stepping back from filmmaking. During his retirement conference September 6th, he was questioned about his sudden weight loss, to which he responded that he had actually gotten back down to the proper weight, having gained weight after getting married. When asked for a comment, Studio Ghibli representatives responded with, quote, "Because this is a private matter, we will absolutely not give a response." Tokyo Metropolitan Police have arrested Young Jump magazine editor-in-chief Shima Tomoyuki for refusing to pay a cab fare. According to police, Shima allegedly grabbed the arm of the taxi driver and threatened to kill him before leaving without paying. The driver was not injured, and Shima was said to be intoxicated at the time. The fare that caused all the mess was about $7. Anime streaming service Daisuki has launched a new iPad app. The app is free and allows users to watch their favorite shows featured on the Daisuki website with resolution and subtitle options. The app will also give users access to the website store where merchandise and paid content can be bought. The site has also recently launched Daisuki TV, a section dedicated to exclusive Japanese culture content, including interviews with voice actors and Japanese bands, and the Gatsuri Tokyo TV program for English speakers to learn about Japanese culture and hot new anime titles. 2 quick release announcements out of Funimation. Funimation Entertainment has cancelled their limited edition version of Ikitosen Great Guardians Complete Series DVD box set. The regular edition is scheduled for a December 31st release. And Funimation is delaying the DVD and Blu-ray release of Jormungand. The anime was set to hit shelves December 17th and will now release February 18th. No reason for the delay has been given. And finally, continuing the year-long saga of Kuroko's basketball threats, the Sankei Shimbun newspaper is reporting that 7-Eleven and other convenience store chains have received threat letters claiming that the sender has chemically laced Kuroko's basketball merchandised confectionaries. Some stores received letters stating that the sender had for some reason put rice vinegar inside curry and spaghetti sauce packages. Weird. Store staff have searched, but have yet to find any abnormalities with their products. 7-Eleven letters claimed that X Day was coming on November 4th, which was the final day of Sophia University School Festival. Sophia University is the alma mater of Kuroko mangaka Fujimaki Tadatoshi. The meaning of X Day was never really made clear, and security was heightened at the event, which seems to have passed without incident. The Tsutaya retail chain, which rents CDs, DVDs, and video games, has pulled all of its Kuroko-related media nationwide. Other recent threat letters have been sent to various news stations, including TBS, whose letter read, "I am the criminal of the Kuroko's basketball threat incident, the mysterious person of 801 faces. I have decided to kill Kuroko." A letter sent to the Sankei Shimbun stated that the sender would go to every store selling Kuroko manga and burn them down. Shinoda Hiroyuki, editor-in-chief of the Tsukuru monthly magazine, known for its mass media commentary, received copies of all the other letters that had been sent out in hopes that Tsukuru would publish information about the incidents if other media outlets wouldn't. After reading over the material he had been sent, Shinoda noted that the mysterious person with 801 faces was inactive for a time because he or she claimed to have been, quote, in negotiations with Kuroko's basketball publisher Shueisha, but negotiations had broken down. Neither the editorial department or Fujimaki understand anything, reads the letter. I have no choice, so I have decided to take serious action. Over 250 letters were mailed in October alone, and the sender claims to have sent threats to 500 different places. Now, for those needing a refresher, threats like these have been going on since last October when mangaka Fujimaki began receiving letters laced with powder and liquid substances. Threat letters have been sent to schools, theaters, publishers, TV stations, radio stations, exhibition venues, newspapers, stores, amusement parks, the Japan Basketball Association, as well as a large number of doujinshi and other comic events and Kuroko fan meetups. Most of those events have been canceled or were suspended early for the protection of the attendees, though no injuries have yet to be reported in regard to the threats. This is insane. When I originally reported on this last year when the threats first started, it was crazy. It's been a year, and this person is still going, still hasn't been caught, and has kind of escalated the level of weird. What's cool is that Kuroko is still really popular. I mean, it's a major shonen sports manga in Japan with way over 9 million copies sold. It's a constant top seller, doing extremely well despite the fact that literally everyone connected to the franchise has had their lives threatened. Unfortunately, the people who are being hurt by this are the fans. Events and meetups are getting canceled, conventions are running scared, people don't even want to sell their fan comics, and now we're getting to the point where product is actually being pulled off the shelf. They probably won't stop selling the manga at big chain bookstores, but the fun little merchandise that only the diehard fans would want, that's what's starting to get taken away. So, unless this guy is caught, the situation could escalate to the point where we see major product pulls, really delayed releases, and God forbid, someone could actually get hurt. The powder and liquid substances that many of the letters have been laced with are no joke. At least one letter contained a lethal dosage. Now, police know where most of the letters are being mailed from, and they're analyzing some video surveillance footage, but the papers just don't seem to be reporting that the cops have any real leads. Hopefully this is because the police are really close to making an arrest and they don't want their case jeopardized or something like that. But after a year, I'm kind of starting to have my doubts. I think maybe because no one's been hurt yet, maybe the police didn't take this super seriously at the beginning because it was just nerds or whatever. But when you get to the point where pretty much every media outlet in the whole country has been threatened, you'd think the cops would want to look like they have the situation under control. Scudo Magazine is going to be reporting on the situation regularly from now on after they got sent a package full of all of the other letters that have ever gone out. So there should be fairly regular news about it flowing. So I guess I'll keep you guys updated if I find out anything else. Hopefully the next thing we hear is that this person has been caught, because I am dying to find out why this person hates Kuroko's basketball so much. And that's all I've got going on in the anime and manga world. Back to you, Dr. Gonzo.
Okay, and that's all the headlines that we have for this week. We're going to take a quick music break. When we come back, we're going to be discussing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., followed by Thor 2, The Dark World. Stay tuned. We got a lot of fun stuff ahead. All right, and we are back. And probably one of the most anticipated television events of this season is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers spinoff starring Agent Coulson, who was killed off rather unceremoniously yet badassfully in the Avengers film. And so it's the show's been out for a few episodes, and we all managed to take a chance to watch a few episodes and get our first impressions. So for this episode, we're going to discuss the show a bit and give our first impressions. So, Brian, why don't you give us a brief rundown of the premise of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
All right. The brief sort of premise of this is this takes place after the Avengers, obviously. And after sort of the Battle of New York, S.H.I.E.L.D. has sort of realized, all right, things have sort of upped the scale, so we're going to put out a team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to sort of go out and do what S.H.I.E.L.D. usually does, find these threats, figure out if there actually are threats or not threats. If they are, you have to figure out how to get rid of it, destroy it, pacify it, whatever, and make sure you try to keep it as much on the down low as possible. Here we have the returning Phil Coulson, Agent Phil Coulson, everyone's favorite S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, returning back from the grave, somehow, leading this team of other slightly attractive S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, I'm going to put that out there, and a not-so S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in a hacker named Sky, who they bring along as sort of a different asset to the team. And every week is sort of now sort of a fly-by, find threat, figure it all out, save the day, no one knows what happened. That is sort of the short, Cliff Notes versions of the show.
With a subplot in the background going on that there is a group out there who is also finding superpowered people or harnessing technobabble to give people superpowers.
Multiple groups. I was under the impression. There are a lot of moving parts in the backgrounds of the worlds of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay. So we've got a bit of the premise, and we'll talk a little bit about the plots of some of the episodes. But let's start. Let's start a bit with the cast. So let's start with Agent Coulson. And I can't remember the name of the actor who played him. Who plays
Clark
Gregg.
Clark Gregg.
Yes.
Okay.
His Majesty Clark Gregg. His Eminence Clark Gregg. Greatest man ever. Mr. Clark.
He who without the show would not have been made, Clark Gregg.
Okay. All right. So how does Clark Gregg hold up on the small screen versus the silver screen?
Well, here's the thing. Do you love Agent Coulson?
I do love Agent Coulson.
Then it's pretty much Agent, like, he does the same, I don't want to call it a shtick because it seems like I'm making fun of him, but it's a shtick. He does the sort of, the Agent Coulson-esque. He's his own sort of character. He works great just going around being both authoritative and just humorous about everything, and very, very laid back in the situations he's put in so far.
Now, I haven't had a chance to watch the show myself, but one of the things I was kind of worried about was, in the films, Agent Coulson, well, he's an awesome character. He's also kind of a one-trick pony in the films, and I was kind of worried that if they put him on a television show where he'd have to sustain an entire series, that there wasn't really many ways that they could grow the character. Is that the case, or has he managed to sprout his own little leaflets there?
Well, it's strange because I've only seen about the first couple of episodes, or 3 episodes, and for the most part, everyone is sort of talking about how he died. And this is, we still don't know how he came back to life. There's sort of hints everywhere around of different theories, but no one's ever said, yes, this is it, and the show will probably not answer that right away. So I think there's something along the lines of that you have to look at.
If I could back here, episodes 4 and 5 actually do a good job, I think, of fleshing out Coulson's character a bit more. Episode 4 involves a character from his past coming back, and they have to, essentially, they have to help
deal with things. Yeah.
Yes, things. Yeah, without spoiling too much. Yes, things must be dealt with that are connected to Coulson's past. And in the 5th episode, you get to see a different range of emotions than you usually see from, all business yet kind of funny Agent Coulson. Shit gets serious and hits
I
the
think
fan.
it's really amazing how they took what is essentially a cameo character who had and then they sort of gave him little traits here and there, and they really enhanced on what came out of the Avengers with Coulson being a collector and liking old things, and how you really get to flesh that out in the TV series. It's really neat how they took, what was essentially a one-shot character who just kind of came in and stole the show every cameo he made, and how how much they were able to do with what little he had been in. If that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and that's probably why they sort of built the show around him, not just because, he's a really popular character now, is we get to sort of flesh him out when he doesn't get overshadowed by Captain America or Incredible Hulk or Iron Man. He gets to be himself, and we get to learn a tad bit more about who he is, what makes him tick, how he's still ticking.
Yeah.
Which is the great mystery, is they sort of had Coulson explain away that he survived and blah, 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 but everybody knows that something else really went on, and everybody knows this but Coulson. Spoiler warning here, guys. So it's sort of there's this great mystery surrounding of what really happened, because there's no way he actually survived that, and
he got speared through the chest by Loki, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, you don't
exactly.
you don't just walk away from that.
So that's
specifically, I'm pretty sure he got speared through the heart by Loki. And the problem here was, again, spoiler warning, if you're still listening, stop now. He explained it away by saying he held his breath for a solid 2 minutes, and then went to Tahiti.
He said his heart had stopped beating for a few minutes, and he was technically dead, but then he went to Tahiti, and Tahiti was really good for him, and blah blah blah. And everybody else is without Coulson being there, they're like, dude, Coulson died. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And the implication is that something happened, and Coulson is the only one who doesn't know.
Okay.
So it's kind of this great mystery that is leaving you watching the show, waiting for more information about that.
Like I said, I haven't seen the show yet, so so I don't know who's who. So Brian, why don't you Kat fill us in on the rest of the cast of characters in this drama?
Well, we'll start with the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Grant Ward. I kind of call him wannabe Coulson, because he does all the same things Coulson does, but he doesn't seem to have the same style or flair to it. But he is the I don't even know what his technical rank is, other than he's a field operative in S.H.I.E.L.D. And he was one of the...
he's like a former agent in another division of S.H.I.E.L.D., where he was sort of a one-man army, and he went in and he did operations by himself. So he's supposed to be sort of the loner character who's really good at everything and mostly good at beating people up. So his caricature is that he's sort of the loner who has to get used to working with other people.
He's the loner with the heart of gold that you'll see sometimes smoking a cigarette by himself in a corner. So you have Grant Ward. The other major field agent is Melinda May, who her backstory we're not too sure of as of yet. She was a field agent under the nickname the Cavalry, and then she stopped being a field agent and went into administration, where they make the red tape. And Coulson sort of brings her back into the field, saying, "Listen, we have this really cool plane. We need a pilot. You're an awesome pilot. Can you come along? Don't worry, you won't see any real fighting or action or anything like that. I know you don't want to do that anymore." That lasts about 15 minutes. But she also has why there's a little bit of a sort of backstory we don't quite know about that. the field agent that stopped being a field agent, but really good at her job as well.
Her shtick is that she obviously has seen too much and it sort of affected her, but she's getting back into the line of duty and, kind of... That's kind of her shtick, yeah.
That's kind of her thing. Then to round out the rest of the real S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, I'll get to the non-S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, is Fitz and Simmons, who Coulson calls Fitzsimmons, so it sounds like one name.
They're collectively Fitzsimmons.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
They're both, I want to say Irish, but I'm probably wrong.
I know, I don't remember. The problem with Fitzsimmons is that you can never remember which one's Fitz and which one's Simmons.
Yeah.
Leo Fitz is Scottish, like his actor is Scottish, and then the girl, Gemma Simmons, is English. But listening to them talk is really, really funny.
They are the techs. They are the Qs of this operation. They're the ones in the labs. They're the uber smart tech people. They have all the cool equipment, and then they start explaining things. No one knows what they're talking about. They're like, all right, what does that mean? Like, oh, it means this, this, and this. They're
the exposition. Sorry,
yes,
I was going to say
exactly.
they're exposition, and yet at the same time, they're also the awesome comic relief duo. About 90% of the time.
Yeah, pretty much. They're kind of adorable. You just like watching them talk at each other.
Yeah. Adorable is a word I would definitely use to describe Fitzsimmons as well.
And then you have the very last but not least, because she's actually one of the main title characters, is Skye. And that's her whole name, Skye. And she is a hacker who goes by the thing of the right...
Sorry.
Last but certainly not least is Skye, who is a hacker and goes under the title of the Rising Tide, I believe. And the whole thing of the Rising Tide is that they want information always out there, freedom. She actually uses the word, and I hate using the word, hacktivist. She's a hacktivist. She used the word in the episode, and I'm like, oh, pain. But that's what the idea is, and she hacks in the S.H.I.E.L.D. and to try to... This is actually one of the funnier storylines, because it lasted only 10 minutes. Of who is the Rising Tide? Who is the Rising Tide? This person hacked in the S.H.I.E.L.D., and then they show up outside her van. And Coulson's like, hi. He's like, oh, hi. You're coming with us.
But she's essentially like the equivalent of Anonymous, kind of. Sort of like hacking and doing things in order to release information. Like her goal is to expose all of the secrets that S.H.I.E.L.D. is keeping because she thinks that people are entitled to that information. Except
that's her goal at the start. That's where her character is at the start of the show. She, as Brian acknowledged, is one of the marquee characters here. So she's getting a little character development every single episode.
But she's very a Whedon-esque character. She's very smart and sarcastic. Always has something to say no matter what the situation calls for. And she's good looking, I'll admit that. But yeah, she's definitely one of the... But she's everyone else doesn't trust her because she's not actually with S.H.I.E.L.D. And everything like that. So there's a little bit of animosity at first. And there might be a little bit more. She actually might not be with S.H.I.E.L.D. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Plotline.
She might have ulterior motives.
Ulterior motives.
Oh,
the most dangerous
the ulterior
of motives. But that's the main cast.
Okay, so all right, so how's the chemistry between the actors in this show? Are there any particular combinations that work really well together, or some that kind of fall flat?
I would say because we see a lot of Ward and Skye together, and because at one point in time she says she wants to join S.H.I.E.L.D., so Ward becomes her SO, and See, now this is where things kind of get weird because I only saw the episode where she infiltrates a bad guy's lair. So I only get this. You get to see them sort of train together in the very early part of the show, and maybe it's just me. I just kind of sat there going, "Is Coulson going to show up? Is Coulson going to show up? Where's Coulson? I don't want not Coulson. You're not Ward. Like this is just me. Maybe just I don't really think Ward seems wooden at times, and I don't know if that's what he's going for.
He is. I really think. For how much I love this show, a lot of the characters are more caricatures rather than characters. And I hate saying that because I freaking love everything ever made by Joss Whedon for the most part. And because the characters are usually really strong. And I don't really feel like this is the case. And I feel like everything between Ward and Skye is extremely forced. It's like, hey, this is going to be the couple of the show. Let's get used to it by putting them in every scene together and giving them, like every little subtle romantic hint, Well,
yeah, I'm with you there. It's, again, I think as the show progresses, we see a little more in the way of character development, but yeah. The interactions between the main cast are extremely forced, and I think Fitzsimmons are definitely adorable as they are. They've received like little to nothing in the way of development, and it helps make them look even more like the characters that we've said a lot of the main cast is. Now that doesn't mean they're not all bad caricatures. I mean there are some. If there is such a thing as a good caricature, I'd say a lot of the main cast is actually pretty good. I like the way the show has played out so far in terms of interaction between the characters for the most part. But that's just me.
I think my favorite I think my favorite character interactions are actually between Coulson and Melinda May, because these are two people who obviously have history. And that feels, all of their dialogue is so witty, it's practically unrealistic, but that's a Whedon show for you, so you sort of expect that. But they're to me, the two who really feel more natural.
I do like the fact that when May just gets mad at everyone for no apparent reason. Actually, there's reasons, but it's always that quiet mad. You're like, you're waiting for her to punch someone. It's like, come on, you wanna. Like she's actually, I really enjoy May's character is all around. Just don't call me the cavalry. Just don't call her the cavalry. It's like, what was that? That was her wrist. Are we ready? I was like, damn, she's awesome. Where's more of her story?
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's just too early to really say that there's not enough chemistry or the characters aren't developed enough, because there's only been a couple episodes so far. And I know the episode that is going to be on tonight while we're recording is going to have probably a lot of character development in it.
Yeah, it's been a slow burn of a show, like slower than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be.
But it's starting to heat up now, I think. As you said, the show tonight looking pretty good.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that they took the break in the middle of the season, which is I blame the World Series for. But like
You're
that always
you lost.
Well, a little bit, but all of my shows stopped for like 2 to 3 weeks, so that always pisses me off.
And I like how they don't tell people, so you're like, all right, I'm going to watch my show. Where is it?
It's like, in 3 weeks, what the fuck?
Yes, and then you go, yeah, and you want to punch something. Except not your TV.
Hollow and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, where are you?
You can't leave me at the same time as once. What's going on? That's
on
been
the
like
upside.
Weeks.
Sorry, I was just going to say, on the upside, I saw a press release fairly recently that said Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been confirmed for the first full season. So
yeah.
Oh, they were going to get a full season no matter what. I can guarantee you that.
Yes.
They'd better have. For God's sake, man. There's no way they don't want to spend money to make action figures.
But the problem, all the action figures are going to be in suits, which is cool for Agent Coulson, who I absolutely love. Every time he's in the field, he's in a fucking suit.
Yeah, He always looks so dashing.
Like, everyone else is like, I got tactical gear, and I got my pistols, and he's like, I got a tie.
Well, you know as well as anyone, Brian, that when a man looks good, he feels good.
So, stuff.
I found that funnier than I probably should have.
Okay.
I mean, why do you think I go everywhere in a pinstripe suit and fedora? Because hey, that's pimp.
Okay then.
We're gonna have to have a conversation about you later behind your back. He thinks I'm joking. Anyway, characters. Yes, they're good.
Okay, all right. Okay, now characters. All right.
I will also like to note, in terms of like, a lot of people may have questions about the series in terms of timeline. From my understanding, just to kind of give everyone, yes, not only does this take place after the Avengers, it also takes place after Iron Man 3, because in the first episode they deal with the Extremists plot again, and it looks like sometime soon, I think this month, they're going to actually tie into Thor. So that's sort of interesting to kind of look at the synergy that's going on with this show. And maybe it's been such a slow burn is because they kind of want to get all these little other tie-ins together before they start taking off and running on their own.
That's this Friday. Thor comes out this Friday.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes, but I don't think the tie-in episode happens until like later this month. Unless they're going to do it immediately after the Thor debut, which would be kind of weird.
Because not everybody will have had a chance to see it yet.
Yeah.
Fair point. Okay, sorry. I got all excited and jumped the gun. Like, yay, I have something to contribute for once.
Oh, everyone will, yeah.
Okay. Now, the only one who doesn't have anything to contribute is me, and that's because I'm a sad sap who, because of various things, did not have time to watch the show. So
you didn't have time to sit on your ass and watch TV?
Damn it, man!
What are you?
I know that makes me a bad nerd, and I will say prayers to the almighty Lucas later as penance.
Lucas, Whedon and Abrams.
Anyway.
Okay.
I love Whedon, but not everything he does is good.
Thank you! Finally, I'm not
Fair
alone.
point.
That doesn't mean I don't love everything he does anyway.
Well, I haven't seen Dollhouse, so I can't comment on that, but...
Dollhouse is fucking amazing!
Well, we're getting off topic here, so how's the script writing in what we've seen so far?
Witty McBanter. It very much reads like a Whedon show, where it's all dry humor and witty banter everywhere all the time. I'm not complaining because that's how I like my television programs.
Yep, I'm on board with that too. And a lot of granted, take this with a grain of salt. Your mileage may vary because this is, a show taking place in a world where there are superheroes and superpowered people. But I found a lot of the writing to be, interesting and to a point, suspension of the disbelief, fairly believable. There was one notable incident very, very early on that I just pointed at and said, that's BS. But aside from that, just really, really good writing. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, the dialogue's fine in terms of the script writing, I feel. Sometimes the stories, at least like for the first couple, were like, I remember the pilot episode. The story was like, at least when they weren't having their banter offs, and you try to follow not Luke Cage, an actual complete different character, even though everyone thought that was Luke Cage because of the commercials. Anytime you kind of got away from that and you're like, this is what's going on, it sort of wanes because you really weren't sure what was happening, and sometimes it gets really, really cheesy. Like the first episode, at one point, the character they were following, who had the Extremists in his system, that's why he had like superpowers, was talking to I assume the evil woman, and she said, like, what is all this about? And he just turned and goes, this is my origin story. And then walks out the door, and I'm like, are you serious? Did you actually say that out loud? Come back.
Come back, random Whedon actor who, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what? Really? Really?
Well, that was...
My thought was, I think it's really interesting that this is a universe where heroes are sort of self-aware, where it's not just like, hey, good people exist and they do good things. This is a universe with existing superheroes who know that they're superheroes, and people know that superheroes exist. And so people who have the ability to possibly become superheroes want to be superheroes because they're superheroes. I'm sorry, if I could say superheroes one more time. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but it's like, hey, here's people who have the ability to become like their idols that they think are really cool and stuff.
Makes sense to me.
So if I were to compare it to another franchise, like, say, Buffy, another Whedon show, Buffy, there are people who do good things, but they keep that world a secret. And here's people who know that superheroes exist. The everyday public knows that superheroes are real. And I think that's really fucking awesome. Only because I really want superheroes to exist. But it creates a sort of a different dynamic where, hey, we're going to put in cheesy lines about this is my origin story, because that's something we can say when we know that superheroes are real and superheroes have origin stories. And cheesy.
That's very true. It's just sometimes it's taken aback.
Oh, yeah.
You get shocked when the line like that sort of pops up. You're like, oh, dear.
No.
Though, I maintain not nearly as bad as plugging a hole in an aircraft at 30,000 feet or beyond with a fucking life raft. And you can see there are holes in it. That was the one that really fucking got me.
Yeah, that was where we stretched the belief.
Where we went beyond the impossible. No. I lost my suspension of disbelief for a while there.
I don't know if that bothered me as much as the stinger to that episode when Nick Fury was chewing out Agent Coulson for property damage. And I'm sitting there going, didn't you almost crash a helicarrier? Like, into New York? I realized you were attacked and all, but you didn't do shit to try to get that back in the air. If it wasn't for Captain America and Iron Man,
Nick Fury in the show. I don't care what reason.
Me neither. Not complaining. Yeah, a Nick Fury. Yeah, a Sam Jackson cameo is just fine by me, or a Nick Fury cameo, depending on whether we're separating the actor and the character or whatever.
And I would like to know that I'm very happy that a S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicle lasted at least one single episode without almost crashing. I swear to God. There was an accountant somewhere in S.H.I.E.L.D. going, why? Why does this keep happening?
I hate you guys!
Well, at least their job isn't boring.
6 days, Coulson! You had the plane 6 days!
It had a bar! A really nice bar!
Okay, alright, so we've talked a bit about the cast, we've talked a bit about the script. So let's get down to the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about the actual episodes and the plots that have been going on. So what did you guys think of the first few episodes that have been out so far? What's been the overriding story arc?
Well, for the first 3 episodes, the ones that I've seen has just been sort of danger of the day. The pilot, you had the extremist danger. The second episode, you had the laser from space. And the third episode, I thought was actually one of the better ones, because not only was it the danger of the day, this genius billionaire kidnaps a super scientist that he used to work with, but it was actually an origin story of a Marvel villain that we haven't seen in a movie or on TV yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that villain is Graviton.
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, okay. I guess I should explain. he is a character that was created back, I believe, in like 1977, possibly by Jim Shooter. I'm gonna have to look that up. But basically, he is the power of gravity. And in the third episode, they were dealing with this generator that one of the scientists that S.H.I.E.L.D. was working for, Franklin Hall, the scientist that was kidnapped, with the evil mastermind whose name escapes me at the moment, even though I just watched the episode, about this generator basically controlling gravity. And the twist of it, spoiler, the twist of the whole episode is that Dr. Hall tricked this guy with the generator, and he goes out to he goes to destroy it, basically, because it's too dangerous and too powerful. No one should have it, good or ill. And unfortunately, he doesn't make it out unscathed, and that's sort of the big stinger that he possibly in the future he will actually see him as the character Graviton. This was sort of how he became said character. And I thought this is what the show was really, really starting to pick up some good steam and good strength, is that it's expanding already on the very impressive Marvel Cinematic Universe, and also giving each character had something to do. You know, it wasn't all sort of standing around in witticisms. You know, you had two people going in to save someone, you had an infiltration unit, you had the tech people, you had the old veteran that was kind of didn't want to go back in the field, but was standing behind, and she learned that, all right, I need to be back in the front lines again. And I was like, this is a very solid episode. You know, congratulations to everyone. Congratulations all around.
Yeah. I like the fourth one even better, honestly. In that episode, if I may jump in for that, that's the episode where S.H.I.E.L.D. has to deal with an agent who has a rogue and is, doing nefarious things. Of course, there's more to that particular situation than meets the eye. And there is, witticisms abound. But we also get, a little more of Coulson's backstory, and we get, again, every member of the team getting to do, their own little part. And it was a good episode. I liked the promise that it showed.
Okay. All right. Any other standouts from the first few episodes? Things that you particularly struck a chord with you?
Should I go into episode?
What was episode 5? I don't even remember.
Episode 5 was the one where Skye gets caught, essentially.
Oh, yeah. That was we need a development episode for Skye, otherwise the viewers are going to get tired of her.
Being so mysterious and everything, yeah.
Being just such a... Because Skye she's an interesting character, but she's sort of useless. She doesn't have any physical capabilities, and she doesn't have the technological know-how that the other people in S.H.I.E.L.D. have, so she's there to sort of be pretty and occasionally do some really, TV hacking, where I just type things and woo!
It doesn't work?
Instantaneously.
So they were like, we need a character development, and I think they're going to do that. They're probably going to do, here's Skye's development episode, and then we're going to have, Fitzsimmons' character development episode, and then it'll probably go down the line. I'm guessing. I actually am really interested in the subplot that's going on, where this group is doing this thing they're calling Project Centipede, where they are giving people superpowers, and they are the shadowy organization that is pretty much the bad guys, because everything they've done so far has been kind of shitty, where they're giving people superpowers and then exploiting those people and basically causing havoc. And so we don't really know anything about them or how they've managed to harness the technology that they have or what their real goals are. And it's all sort of this mystery that will hopefully unravel. But that's kind of where I think it's going to get good, and that's where the show is going to go, and we'll start seeing more of that soon.
It's always good to have S.H.I.E.L.D. versus someone. S.H.I.E.L.D. by themselves, both in comics and like out of it, it's like, what do you do? Yeah, they're a super secret spy organization, but they just kind of go out and do stuff. You need to have someone. You need to have a S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra or S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Centipede or AIM. This might just be AIM if they're using the extremist technology. I'm wondering if that's one of the ways they can go with it. Or like in the James Bond series, you have Spectrum. So it's always good to have super secret spies.
Spectre?
Is it Spectre?
Yeah, it's Spectre.
Well, fine. Spectre.
Look, I've been sitting here listening to you guys talk about a show that sounds awesome, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. I need to contribute something, even if that's being the douchey McNick. You are incorrect!
Someone on the internet is wrong. So I guess.
Oh my god!
So there's always you need, if you have super secret spies, the super secret spies need to fight other super secret spies, or it gets kind of boring.
And it absolutely, when you have superheroes, and even the concept of superheroes requires there to be a supervillain. So it's perfect that there is this shadowy organization for them to fight, because it sort of fits with that theme of arch nemesis and stuff.
Possibly multiple shadowy organizations they need to fight, because I'm going to point out again, 4th episode, really, really good one, possibly my favorite so far, but we come across another shadow group. We don't really know who they are. Don't think they're aligned with, the group that's doing the centipede experiments. They're doing weird stuff too.
By all accounts, Hydra never actually got completely destroyed after the end of World War II. I wouldn't be shocked if Hydra shows up in this show.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising at all.
Yeah. And they can tie it into the Captain America movie. Ding! Man, why aren't they hiring me?
Shit, son, we could write the show.
Okay, alright. Now, what were some things that didn't really click or could have used some work in these first few episodes?
Here's the problem. And
Life raft to save the bus. Life raft to save the bus. Did not work at all. That's my only complaint.
I think a lot of sort of criticism that's come from the show is that people were expecting this to be sort of fan service Easter egg hunt show, and it's not. They're taking their time. They're trying to build these stories and characters. So a lot of people were coming in going, "Ooh, when's this going to show up?" Or "I want to see that in the background," and it's not happening right away, or feeling a bit cheated. And it's a world full of superheroes, but there's no superheroes on the show yet. Besides Agent Coulson.
And he's just super awesome.
Yeah, he's just super awesome. There is the theory that Agent Coulson, one of the theories is Agent Coulson will be Vision, the android, in the future. And I kind of hope that doesn't happen. Because I never really liked Vision, and I feel like that cheapens Coulson. I think Coulson has deserved his character spot. He doesn't need to be merged with another one.
I mean, they're going to have to explain his resurrection somehow, and I'm sure they'll come up with a great way.
He keeps saying Tahiti's a magical place, so I'm going to guess magic.
Magic, yeah. Some sort of weird whateverness.
Someone in Shield's like, wait, we know gods. They can fix this. Hey, go Thor!
Yeah, before Thor left.
That actually reminds me of something that I saw on Facebook, and I don't know if this holds any water to the actual show or not. But it's I don't remember exactly how it went through, but it was basically Coulson saying, "Yeah, we've got this thing that needs to get taken care of. Is Steve available? No. Thor's ready. No, we really need Steve. We really need Cap on this one. Can we get Cap? So does that poke at anything that's actually occurred in the show, or was that just an idle joke?
No, I think it's an idle joke. There's been a couple jokes where like they couldn't get the actual actor to show up from the movies, so there's like Captain America, but he has a bag on his head for some reason, or like they're calling someone. It's just like recycled footage from like Iron Man or whatever, redubbed. There's little jokes like that because I think people were expecting that, but the show is really not that. They're trying to make the show sort of stand on its own 2 feet. And then tied into Thor.
They basically spend like the first episode making all of the references that they're going to make. They're like, hey this, hey that, stuff about New York. Okay, we're done. Now we've got to stand on our own.
So just getting it out of their system.
Just getting it out up front. It's like Alfred Hitchcock doing the early cameo. Just get it away.
Yeah.
And they did I'd argue they did some of that with Nick Fury showing up on the show. That was a big fan servicey bit, at least
and Maria Hill showing up.
Yeah,
everyone says that was their entire guest budget right there.
Probably.
Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know. He seems to like the character. Maybe he did it on scale. Maybe he just asked really nicely.
Yeah, maybe he was like, "Damn it, I'm in the area."
Yeah, and you don't say no to Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, no.
That's a good way to get your ass kicked.
Now, I will admit, I personally wouldn't mind if a lower-tiered superhero does show up on the show that sort of fits with the show. Say Daredevil, because they got the license back for Daredevil, but maybe they won't move forward with a Daredevil movie as quick. Something could happen in Hell's Kitchen in New York. Daredevil could show up. They have a nice little meet and greet, high five each other, save the day, and he's off he goes.
Talk about how much Ben Affleck sucks.
And just so there you go. I think that would sort of be fine.
I tell you someone who I would like to see appear in the show, and I think it would be a really great way to bring back the character and the actor, especially how both have been treated in films as of late. I think it'd be really cool if they got Thomas Jane to come back and do a cameo as the Punisher.
I don't know if ABC would allow the Punisher to show up on S.H.I.E.L.D., to be quite honest. It's the Punisher, for fuck's sake.
Right.
If the episode doesn't have a body count that he made, I'm not sure it's going to be a very good episode.
Well, I don't know. That episode 5, near the very end, which you haven't seen just yet, I'm going to remember right now, but it got kind of gruesome just near the end.
I'm not saying have the Punisher become a regular feature on the show, but in the comics, Fury and Castle have crossed paths a couple of times and even kind of joined forces, an alliance of convenience. And I think, just have him come in for a guest spot in an episode, or maybe they're trying to stop him from killing somebody that they need, I think would make a good episode.
I mean, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it will. Just they're going to have to be very creative with him. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay,
fair enough. I think making them be creative is far from the worst thing that could happen. But
I'll also say that even though it would be cool to see Daredevil and Punisher, we have to try not to take away from the cast that's already there, and that could be a danger if this becomes the Scooby-Doo movies where they just keep having guest spots after guest spots after guest spots. Eventually, you run out of people, and you have Don Knotts on for 3 times. So you don't really. I was expecting someone to laugh for that joke. I thought it was fucking clever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
Come to think of it, sorry. I was thinking. Just now, the thought occurred to me. They could use Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if it gets to be popular enough and they feel really ballsy. They could use the spin-off Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to launch other spin-offs. I think
they're already planning on that.
Okay.
I was reading a story that they like the show so much they're going to build around it. Basically, yeah, we'll possibly have other spin-offs that go with it. Kind of how they did with ABC did with Once Upon a Time. Now they have Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Yes, and it's also amazing.
This is so there is the chance they will do it probably the same with that. They might introduce something or someone, who knows, to come in, and they might break off a little bit to one side. And later down the line, all right, now we're going to have, tonight we'll have Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And after Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's Captain Marvel with Carol Danvers. Let's see what she does this week. Something like that. Or She-Hulk Law and Order edition.
That would
pay money to see that.
That
would be hilarious.
That show.
You know what I'd like to see? I'm gonna be blatantly honest. It's a newer comic series. I'd like to see a primetime take on Runaways. That I thought was an interesting sort of little mini comic book series.
Josh Whedon wrote for that series.
You're right.
Confirmed.
Or was it Exiles that he wrote?
Nope. He wrote for Runaways, and it was hilarious because they made fun of him in earlier issues, and then guess who ended up writing the later ones?
Well, anyway, we're getting a little bit off topic here. Okay, so it established that there's opportunity for some sly cameos. And we talked a little bit about some of the plots. Now, we've all seen the Avengers. We covered it for the show, and that was a pyrotechnics and effects extravaganza, feast for the eyes, if ever there was one. Thanksgiving for the eyeballs. So now, after coming from that, obviously this is a television show. It's going to have a much smaller budget for effects and sets. So I guess my next question is, how does this show hold up as far as visual design and special effects and sets?
It's definitely a lot better than a lot of the other television out there. I don't ever hear any complaints about the effects because I think people, for the most part, are understanding that it is television and it is a television budget. So the effects aren't going to be, tons and tons of CG aliens and crazy stuff like that. They know, so a lot of the effects have been here's explosions because it's, more doable effects.
It is TV. You could put Avengers and this next to each other and you could see the difference, but it's not terrible. But you obviously know that thing doesn't really exist here. It's obviously CG, but again, you don't really care because Coulson will explain it away for you. I do like the fact there was the scene in episode 3 where the gravity generator was turned on and the room that Coulson and Dr. Hall were in was rotating, and so you would see them standing on the wall or standing on the ceiling, or things would start standing up.
That was totally awesome.
Yeah, and you could tell it wasn't just they just didn't turn the camera. I'm pretty sure that room rotated on them.
Yep.
And also great, and that also had one of the better lines for Coulson is, "I don't think that's the off switch."
Yeah. I don't think that's the off switch.
Okay.
Made a hard call.
Now this is kind of might be kind of an unusual question. I've never really asked it at a television show before. But how's the sound design in the soundtrack to the show so far?
As per usual, I haven't paid any attention at all.
In a weird sense, neither have I in this situation.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, it's there. They have one. There. That's your answer. They have one. They obviously have one.
Yes, you're right. There is a soundtrack. There is sound design. The sound quality for effects is really good, I think, especially for TV. The soundtrack, the background music, though, just there. And I mean, on the one hand, it's strong enough to support what's going on without being overly intrusive. On the other hand, it's not particularly memorable.
I don't generally find sound anything particularly memorable, so I am a bad call on this one. But I haven't noticed it being terrible, which I would notice if it were terrible. So I'd say it's pretty good.
Fair enough. I mean, well, this is coming from me. I do sometimes, if there's a theme song for a movie or a show that I really really like, I'll latch onto that, and that's one thing. But in this particular instance, I'm with you. Nothing particularly memorable that sticks in my mental crawl.
Okay.
Except in a good way.
So now, sort of the last question I have to ask about this show. This has been one of the most anticipated television shows in the geek circle for ever since it was announced. And it's the thing is for shows the geek set, they tend to either not last very long, or there's not a lot of faith put into them by the studio, or just in general, you might find that there's not a lot of sustainability with the show's premise. So I guess my question is, how do you guys see the prospects of this show long term?
Well,
sorry, you first.
Well, I'm just trying to think because what's sort of happening here is a little bit different than a lot of the geek shows that come before it. Is that I believe ABC and the parent company Disney, I think they have a lot of faith in this show because they advertise the bejesus out of this to the point where like I couldn't like look on any website or TV without a commercial for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They obviously trusted this and really support the show to the point where I think this actually will last a little bit longer than we think it will. How long? I can't tell you that. More than a season? Absolutely. More than 2 seasons? I will give it that. Maybe even 3. So I think this has been a big turnaround in sort of a way. It's a way more supportive than I think anyone imagined. Now, I have read TV Guide has a scathing review of the whole show, and they bring up ratings into it, where ratings in the first 5 episodes have slipped. The problem I have with that is that always happens in TV, especially during fall, because this competition starts creeping up on you. World Series, the NBA just starts. Everyone's still trying to see what other shows may be on. So I don't know, like the ratings are still really strong and the other critics seem to enjoy it. So I think this has a bit more sustainability than we initially thought. Now, I don't know which character is going to die yet. I haven't figured out which one they picked. They might try to kill off Coulson again for the feels.
Yeah. Well,
that's a crap joke. I don't think anyone's going to die.
Well, no. It's now. See, the tricky thing there is, I think it is entirely that there's there could be somebody who dies because they're not terribly shy about it that these days in the comic book universe, especially. The difference is it might be more difficult if they want to bring that character back later to explain away their death, unless they use that as a mechanism to reveal how Coulson came back from the dead,
which would be totally awesome.
Yeah, but shit, son, man, you don't understand how easy it is to bring a character back to life in the comics. There is no explanation I don't believe anymore.
Come on! Once Spider-Man sold his marriage to the devil, what else is there?
I shit you not.
Jesus Christ, you're right. That was painful to read.
No, I shit you not. In a Teen Titans book, they went to hell and they had a revolving door.
Is that the one where they wait? Wasn't that the Justice Society and they went to go get Guy Gardner's girlfriend or something?
That was I can't believe it's not the Justice League. Great miniseries, by the way. That actually might be it too, or it could be. I still can't believe it's not the Justice League because they had 2 of them. Because it was about Justice League International. That's what they had.
While we're talking about characters dying, I don't know that this is a well-known fact, but Joss Whedon did not make the decision to kill off Coulson in the Avengers. He was told that that's what was going to happen, and then he said, "Oh man, everyone's going to think I killed Coulson." And he did not actually make that decision.
You brought this on yourself.
It was kind of miffed because everyone was going to blame him for it, which he totally deserves. He always kills all of his goddamn characters. And if you've ever watched Buffy, forget Firefly, watch Buffy if you want to know that he kills off his characters.
That's what I mean. It's just sort of a crap joke that we threw out. It's low-hanging fruit at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he does get credit for... I'd also heard this, I don't know where from, take it with a grain of salt, that he wasn't going to do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, this show, if he couldn't have Coulson in the show.
I wouldn't watch this show without Coulson, to be quite honest with you.
So...
I would watch it without Coulson if it starred Nick Fury.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good replacement.
Yeah, fair
but they couldn't put that on television because there'd be so many F-bombs.
Yep.
It would the entire if Nick Fury was on the show, the entire show would be Nick Fury blowing something up and being badass, and then having sex with a hot chick. That would be because
we have to air it on HBO.
Because that is the way Samuel L. Jackson rolls.
Yep.
That would be, and it would be the best show. Anyway.
He's either shooting that or he's capping that. Sometimes simultaneously.
Anyway, yeah, on topic. I think this show does have the potential for long-term sustainability because they've got the entirety of the Marvel Universe pretty much to mine for material. The question is, whether the producers have the confidence in it, and I think Brian has demonstrated that they probably do, and whether the audience has the confidence in it, and that I think is the big variable.
Well, they have they have the whole Marvel universe except Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and the X-Men.
Give them time.
Yeah,
because Disney. But anyway, I think we are forgetting the most important factor of whether or not the show will last. In fact, that this is a Joss Whedon show, and we are not allowed to have anything good when it's Joss Whedon, except for Buffy. Buffy is like the only show that just like. It just, for some reason, lasted forever.
Man, why'd you have to go bring that up?
I'm sorry,
Buffy is
but
good,
this is true.
Oh, man, you're right. Oh, man.
So, the statistics are not in our favor.
So, that means that in order to save... Since this is a Joss Whedon show, that means if we want to ensure that it will last for a long time, we need to get Joss Whedon off of the show.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because
to save Joss Whedon, we must remove Joss Whedon.
To save the show, we must destroy the show.
Well, yeah, like I said, not necessarily. Marvel's been really good about relaunching series after a year, so it's like, oh man, this is only going to last 2 seasons. That's okay, we'll just rename it. And it's a brand new series, we promise. Has the same act. It's a brand new series.
We're gonna retell everyone's origin stories. God damn it!
Has a new number 1 and everything.
I have the same fear that I have with every other show that I like, in that it is potentially like the humor rubs people wrong, and people think that the humor is like it thinks it's too smart for everybody because it's got technobabble and dry wit. Therefore, obviously, it's too smart for people, quote unquote. Because that's all of my favorite shows that have been canceled have that sort of creative, dry wit, and it's just not what people. It doesn't get the ratings, basically, and that's my fear, is that it won't get the ratings and it won't be sustained. Obviously it's getting its full season, but it's gonna have to sustain decent ratings.
Which means no Firefly style viewing parties.
Yeah. And I just don't know if they can do it unless they're going to really hype up something, because I just think that the characters, while I love them, the characters are too flat. Except for obviously Coulson, who is amazing and everything he does is magical, because Tahiti. But the other characters, I don't think are enough to sustain the show. The other characters just aren't up to par. And that is my great fear. I think that they will pull through. At least I hope they will pull through and really just finish the season with like just flair and pizzazz and explosions and amazingness, and then they'll get their second season, and then we might be solid. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell after just 5 episodes.
Okay.
But Joss Whedon shows have that history.
Okay. All right. Okay, so since this is a television series, we obviously can't give it our normal rating scale. So I guess we'll just say final overall thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So Brian, let's start with you.
I enjoy it. I think this has actually turned out a little bit better than I thought it was going to be with a S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out. I think you can check it on abc.com and or Hulu.
Or on actual television.
Yeah, you can do that, but this is the 21st century. No one watches TV anymore.
I don't. I watch it DVR'd. Mostly because we podcast when it comes on.
Best of both worlds. I love it.
Exactamundo.
Okay, Brendan, what about you? Final overall thoughts?
I think it's not a perfect TV show yet, but it's very, very good for what it is. And if you enjoy superheroes, if you're one of us, a nerd, you should probably at least watch, 1 or 2 episodes. Again, the 4th thus far is one of my favorites. So, I mean, just if you're a nerd, watch the show. At least give it a shot.
Kat, what about you? Final thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I agree with everything everyone has already said. It's a good show. You should definitely check it out, especially if you have enjoyed any of the Marvel movies. You're probably going to enjoy this show. It's not perfect. It definitely has some flaws, but pretty much you're willing to get over that for the potential that the show has and because Coulson.
Now, I just want to point out something that I just realized is a great irony to me. We've watched how many superhero movies now over the course of the show? Like
many,
a couple dozen. Okay, and now we've got a what is let's just put our cards on the table here, a superhero television series. And with rare exception, Kat has enjoyed each and every single one of them. And yet, when I met her, she adamantly refused to have anything to do with superhero comics.
Yes, I won't read the comic books because I would never, ever be able to keep track of all the shit and the revamping and this person's dead and now they're not, because I read manga. And manga, usually, for the most part, have a beginning and an ending. And some of them go longer than others, but they don't always kill off the character, bring it back, restart the whole story. Now someone's related to somebody that they weren't before. My stories don't do that, and my brain can't handle this shit. I have never before said that I would never get involved with superhero movies because movies are way easier for me to digest than the comic books.
Okay, but no, I just realized that.
Yeah,
that was a great irony.
It is a constant source of humor for me that I have tons of superhero shirts now because I really like the movies, but I've never read any of the comics because it would be so much work, and I have enough expensive hobbies.
Yeah, don't add this one. Don't add this one. You will be broke.
We all.
Okay. But I think that sums about everything that we had to say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm definitely going to be checking this out. And if you're a superhero fan, sounds like you ought to give it a look as well. So, Brian, for those of us who are not lucky enough to have TiVo or DVR, when does Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. air?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. airs Tuesday nights at
8
Our
Eastern,
usual reporting time.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, remember, I live in a different time zone. 8 p.m.
8 Eastern.
8
p.m. Eastern. 7
Central. For everyone else, figure it out yourself. I'm not good at time zones.
Pacific. 5 o'clock Pacific, I think.
Pacific time's usually delayed to their 8 o'clocks.
Oh, okay. That would make a lot more sense.
All right. Well, in other words, check your local TV Guide channel, and definitely check this out. Okay, and that's all the time that we have for this discussion. We're going to take another quick musical break. When we come back, Thor 2: The Dark World. Stay tuned. We got a lot of fun stuff planned. right, and we are back. And in keeping with our theme of Marvel heroes this week, we have decided to review the newly released Thor 2, The Dark World. A lot of excitement surrounding this movie. We've all been really looking forward to it. I unfortunately did not have the chance to see it because, to quote the the manager at my theater, Loki put a curse on the projector. So I am the odd man out here, but Brian and Kat and Brendan have all managed to go out to see it. So let's start with our general thoughts here. So Brian, starting with you, general thoughts on Thor 2.
Okay, this general thought is going to basically be a sentence. This is kind of what they wanted Thor to be like in the first place. The first Thor movie.
So what Thor 1 should have been.
Sort of. You know, you had it was basically like, hey, remember all the stuff we couldn't do in the first movie? Ta-da! Like, that's how they should have really marketed the movie. With the guy just going, ta-da!
Okay.
Ta-da was, in fact, the best line in the whole damn movie. Ta-da!
Oh, I don't know. Loki had some pretty choice lines there.
But ta-da! Ta-da!
Anytime you get the chance to say ta-da for any reason is a magical moment.
Oh, I'm not denying it's magical. I just think my personal favorite for him, if it's not spoiling too much, is the Captain America sequence.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Kat, what about you? Your general thoughts.
This was a really excellent film. It certainly could have been a smidgen better in certain places, but by God did I love it. By all the gods did I love it.
Okay. And Brendan, I saw your Facebook post, so but share your jubilation with the rest of our listeners. What did you think of this movie?
I thought this movie was really, really good. Basically, if we're going to sum it up in, a sentence-long comparison, the second Thor movie was to the first Thor movie what the second Transformers movie was not to the first. It basically improved all of the good stuff, dropped a bunch of the bad stuff, and had, very, very little college toilet humor at all. Almost none, but we'll get into that later.
Okay. All right, so let's dive right into breaking this movie down to its component pieces, starting as always with the plot. And Brian, as our most learned Marvel scholar, it falls to you to give us a brief synopsis of this film's plot.
Okay, the plot is actually fairly simple. Years and centuries ago, there's the race called the Dark Elves that wanted to basically destroy the universe, return it all to darkness with a powerful weapon known as the Ether. They failed at doing it because the Asgardians came in and whooped their ass. Most of the race died off except for the Doctor. Sorry, Malachite. He stayed around and a few of his followers stayed around. He's the Dark Elf leader. They went into hibernation as the Ether went into hiding. The Ether gets found by Jane Foster from, if you remember, from the first movie, played by Natalie Portman. This brings across Thor back to her, and then she sort of becomes the MacGuffin. They try to find the Ether, stop Malachite from destroying the entire universe, because there's a big convergence of all the 9 worlds coming together, and in doing so, he has to sort of betray his father and kind of get help with Loki. There's actually a lot of information. I hope this makes sense later. But the idea is that it's a race to stop the Dark Elves from destroying the universe with a super weapon.
But if I may, the villain's name is not Malachite, it's Malekith. Malachite is a Sailor Moon villain. Also
all right.
A stone.
Malekith? Really? So all right, I'm sorry. This is just making me laugh because I hear Malekith and I think of the Dark Elf King from Warhammer Fantasy. I'm just like, Games Workshop gonna sue somebody here.
I'm sure it's probably based on legitimate Norse mythology somewhere in there, if what you're saying is true. But I'm just pointing out that Malachite is a Sailor Moon villain.
So my memory
was he the one douche nugget with the silver hair and the cape who was in love with the lady boy?
Wasn't that all of them?
I'm going to say yes for simplicity's sake, because if I were to sit here and explain Sailor Moon villains and the difference between manga, sub, and dub, we'd be here all day. But yes, we'll say yes.
So Malekith. Because
yeah.
I can't remember even when I saw this movie yesterday. So Malekith. Now,
and next week, Brian will tell us about Asylum of the Daleks.
And there is well, the thing is, like, I was talking to my friends, is that the thing with the movie version of Thor and the Asgardians is a little bit annoying to a lot of people because they're not technically gods, they're aliens, quote unquote, but they were thought of as gods by us human folk, and we were sort of annoyed with that. The Dark Elves might be part of the mythology of Norse, but I don't really know, and apparently Norse mythology in terms of this movie canon is sort of out the window. They get a lot of stuff wrong, but really don't apologize for it either, and we don't seem to care.
Not really. I mean,
all right, so we talked a bit about the plot, such as it is. So let's talk a bit about the script. So, Kat, why don't you get started talking about the script to this film?
A lot funnier than the original Thor. It had more like funny dialogue rather than the sight gags, and that it was wholly unnecessary for Kat Dennings to be in the movie at all. And don't get me wrong, I like Kat Dennings and I like her character, but as I was watching it, at all times I thought there is absolutely nothing that she's doing that that Selvig or Jane couldn't be doing. Like they just, like, it sort of felt like they forced her into the movie to retain that character, and I thought the story could have been, like, the whole script could have been a little more well-rounded and a little more in-depth in other areas if they had just fucking cut all that unnecessary screen time with her.
Well, okay, you're right on that. Sorry.
Well, that's getting a bit into the cast here, but we'll get.
Well, that has nothing to do with her as an actress. It just has to do with the way that the story is written. I don't understand why she's in this movie.
Okay, Brian, your thoughts?
There was a lot more jokes, definitely abound in this film. But at the same time, they also had there was still more serious tones in this film. I felt there was more of a threat going on with the script and the story, not only to Earth but to Asgard itself. Because we spend a lot of time in Asgard. There were times I felt the jokes were coming fast and furious when they didn't kind of need to. It just felt like we need something here. Thor, say or do something funny. Or Loki, you're a funny guy. Say something funny. It's like, say something funny. We need something funny right here. It's like, okay, guys, understand comedy and a comedic beat. Sometimes I don't think you need all of that. Especially in the third act.
Okay. Brendan, what about you? What did you think of the script?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought all the comedy and the characters, the way they played it out, I thought it all worked really, really well. The one bit that jarred me out of it, that I wasn't entirely certain how much I liked, was the whole bit right in the middle of the second act, where the movie decided it was tired of being Lord of the Rings and wanted to be Star Wars instead. I'm not sure if this will be stretching too far into the special effects version or special effects portion of our discussion, but the bit with the spaceships and the Dark Elves having, the colossal alien mothership was a little jarring. I kind of lost my willing suspension of disbelief when they rolled out the longboats with jet engines attached to them.
And the missiles.
Oh, well, yes, and missiles and gigantic like Norse railguns. Really?
Longboats with rockets attached. Well, now I have to see this movie if for nothing else than that. Okay, all right. So but overall, the script did a good job. It did what it was supposed to do.
Yes, I felt it very much did what it was supposed to do. As Kat and Brian have pointed out, not perfect, but good, very good.
Okay. All right, okay. So now let's talk a little bit about the cast, and this is where I have to go onto Wikipedia and pull up the cast list, because I cannot for the life of me remember the names of the actors who play Thor and Loki.
Tom Hiddleston is Loki, and Chris Hemsworth.
Tom Hiddleston, Chris Hemsworth. Good chemistry between the two of them. I really liked the way they played.
You're getting a little ahead of me here. Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the cast. So let's start, as always, with our title character, Chris Hemsworth as Thor. And this is actually his third outing as the character, having reprised the role for the Avengers. So is he still up to par in this film?
My biggest fear with Chris Hemsworth and Thor, I thought, was, will he regress back to the first movie of being kind of an arrogant ass? But he brings a lot of maturity to the character over like the 2 years that's been gone. And he's like, I've kind of seen some shit. I helped stop an alien invasion. I feel like I should grow up now. And he does that. I think he brought that very well to him. He wasn't the overbounding, yet more throw cup to the ground Thor. The lunkhead Thor is like I think some people call them. This is more of a, I can kind of see him as a regal guy now.
He definitely had like a warrior prince kind of, you're right, kind of regal, more mature, less of a dick. He was definitely a guy who had seen some shit. I like that. He's like that guy, like you see doing crack on the street. I've seen some shit, man. You have no idea.
I fought a space whale.
He got punched in the face by a radioactive mutant. Okay. All right. Brandon, what about you? What did you think of Thor in this film?
I thought, I'm going to have to agree with Brian and Kat's assessment. I think Thor as a character, as portrayed by Hemsworth, I mean, I think he's got a firm handle on the role. I think Thor the character has matured indeed. Man, I'm having a hard time thinking of something to say that they haven't already said. Basically, just what those two said.
He definitely, it felt very natural. Like, it didn't feel like, there was really, there was no difference in the Thors, and, like, there wasn't a jump. It was a natural progression of his character from movie to movie to movie. So, it didn't really feel
exactly.
Like,
not wooden or forced. Sorry.
Yeah, like the way the character was written and the way he behaved and everything, it was just overall really well done.
Yeah. Okay. And now, so now next up we've got the love interest, Natalie Portman, as Dr. Jane Foster, who sat out the Avengers. So, how did she come across in this film?
And the room goes silent. Who wants to be the first to speak up for Natalie Portman?
She did an okay job, I guess. I mean, granted,
it's hard to really, really like her character in this because her character is essentially the MacGuffin, and so it feels so forced that they're trying to bring the characters back together. Like, when the person is a MacGuffin, that really pisses me off. But I really liked the character herself. Like, she was kind of sassy and science-y and, not too, my boyfriend kind of. I'd like her character a lot more if she weren't the MacGuffin of this particular movie.
I'd like her character a lot more if now here I'm kind of going to have to differ with you. I like her character, and I don't mind that she was the MacGuffin. I just wish she'd, aside from, finding the time rifts and helping in the final battle, whenever they were in Asgard or the Dark World, she basically just stood around and was the MacGuffin. She could have
contributed a little.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Brian.
I don't know how she would have contributed in Asgard among gods who don't like her.
Well, fair enough, but I mean, just sitting there soaking up screen space, I kind of wish there'd been a little more there.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, what about you?
I mean, it's really hard. I kind of have to agree with Kat. It's really hard when the person is a MacGuffin, because now they're an object and they stand around and they kind of look around and they don't really do a lot. But when she's not the MacGuffin and she's out being super scientist, she's fine. She's figuring all this stuff out and helping out. But you had to, I guess, in the way the story sort of worked, they had to figure out where to get the ether to the bad guys and things like that. So they kind of used her as that transport, and she does well when as Natalie Portman does well as the character when she's doing it. It's just she needed to be doing a little bit more. I mean, that's really what all I can say is that Natalie Portman could do more.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. Actually, I think I see more what Kat was trying to say now. You are right. When the ether was basically like an idiot ball for her character, I guess. While she had it, she did nothing. And when they got rid of it, oh hey, she's science chick again. She can do stuff.
Okay. Now for the cast member that I'm sure Kat is most excited to talk about, Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
Oh my god, he's so pretty. Okay, I got that in my system. It was actually sounding kind of gross. I'm sorry. I won't do that again.
We won't hold it against you.
You shouldn't. You do him and you know it.
That depends on the intensity of the illusions he happens to be using at the time.
Well, anyway.
Tom Hiddleston, what can't we say about him? Because my god, is he really, really excellent as Loki.
Oh lord, it feels like he's just enjoying the role so much.
Yeah.
I mean, like Ron Perlman from Pacific Rim times a couple billion.
Loki's character is so interesting in this movie because I think in the previous two movies he's been, I won't say predictable, but you kind of understand what his motives are and what he's going to do and what he's willing to do. And this is the movie where I feel like Loki is at his most Loki. Because you know that he's a bad guy, and you know that he's pretty messed up, and you know that he's gonna fuck with you. And this is the movie where he really does it. Like, he is really using his illusions to his advantage, disguising himself as other people, really just trolling Thor a lot. It was really, like, genuinely trickster.
Okay, Brian?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if everyone else knows this, but just because they actually went out and reshot some of this movie to add more Loki to it. They actually made
know that.
They made the film and said, you know what this film needs? More Loki. So they made it with more Loki, like 20% more Loki.
I've got a fever, and the only prescription is more Loki.
I know that feel, bro.
So and there are times I might be able to pick out, like, all right, this scene probably looks like the reshot scene or whatever. But Loki is, and especially with Tom Hiddleston playing him, he is what a lot of people really wanted him to be here, is that god of mischief and misdirection. You know, everyone's breaking out. He's not going to break me out. Well, I'm going to send this guy over here to do this. These events will surely follow. And then as these events follow, I have this plan and this item and this thing. And oh shit, that didn't go as well. All right, let's kill this guy. All right, this plan. Like, he's very deep. He's very complicated. And like you see the mind working at the same time. You don't really know where he's going to go next with it, though. It's everyone's looking at him going, he's going to betray you. He's going to betray you. He's going to betray you. He's like, yes, but you just really don't know when or how.
Yeah, I think they kept a really good mystery with Loki. Like, you just genuinely didn't know what he was going to do. No matter how much you thought you knew, like, he was always just 2 steps ahead of you.
Okay.
Not even 1, just 2. Because he's just that good.
Well, you don't get too far ahead, because then you won't see the chaos behind you.
I would actually say the movie almost comes close to disappointing me in that Loki kind of outshines Thor in this movie by a lot. Like, his performance and his character, like, when you compare, like, all of the movies, like, Loki has the most character development in his insanity, and you get to see so much of Loki, so many different sides of him. And Thor has become sort of static between Avengers and Thor, where it's like, you know, his moral set of principles and he's going to stick to those, and you really don't know what Loki's going to do. And he keeps showing different sides of himself to the point where you really can't get a grasp on what he's really like. And so I really want to say that Loki and Tom Hiddleston had the more enjoyable performance. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with the extra scenes that they shot, but it's like Loki had the better personal story in this movie.
It's always really hard when like the quote unquote villain, or in this case the co-star, is starting to really outshine your hero. But at the same time, it almost seems purposely done, especially towards the end when you see that, you know, his big reveal and what he's actually accomplished. You're like, oh shit, now things are about to get real, you know.
And then the movie ends.
Yeah, and this kind of it almost worries me because I follow a lot of the groups, the Loki and Tom Hiddleston fan groups and stuff, and they are way obsessed with this guy. And this guy is an asshole. Let's be honest here. Loki is a jerk.
He's a funny jerk, but a jerk. Yes.
Yeah, and he's not really a good person. And it always bugs me when people idolize somebody who is an asshole, who is not a good person. He's kind of evil. And like the girls fangirls everywhere just freaking idolize him. And I get it. I really do, because I'm in love with him. But that doesn't make him a good person. And that doesn't mean that you should worship the ground he walks on just because he's a beautiful, handsome, perfect God.
Okay. Well, I think that's kind of taking the train off the tracks here. So let's ground ourselves again. This time we're talking about the movie's real big bad, Christopher Eccleston as Malekith.
Oh my god, I wasn't able to pick him out until like the very, very end when the credits rolled, and I'm like, oh my god, that's number 9.
you can see it in his facial structure a little bit, but it was Christopher Eccleston under a lot of makeup and prosthetics.
Very much so. But the first like English sentence, because he was speaking an alien language, the dark elf language for most of the film. But the moment he said something in English, I'm like, oh, there you are.
He didn't have the accent, like that northern accent that we're so used to from Doctor Who and other things, but it was him. It was definitely Eccleston. Like, Ninth Doctor, what have you become?
You're not John Hurt.
So true.
Yeah. I do wish he did a little bit more as well, because for the most part he was foreboding from a distance. Like, he didn't actually. The first time he got into a confrontation with any of the gods since the start of the film was Thor, and he got half his face burnt off. So it's like, I'm the big bad. Ow! I was like, well, that's not as threatening as I want you to be. True, you did crash your ship into the palace. That is impressive. Your ships that are apparently also swords.
I really enjoyed his performance as a villain. I thought he was really good and threatening, and obviously he's like the last boss who doesn't have to be on screen all the time, because he's got that
he's got his minion guy.
Yeah, he's got his berserker kind of character who goes around and does all of the dirty work, and he's more of the waiting until the last minute to make the final blow kind of villain. On the other hand, he was kind of, I don't want to say bland, because I don't think he was terribly bland, but he was sort of a generic villain. And I know that they cut a bunch of his scenes out, probably to make room for Loki, which I don't know. I won't blame Loki, but I bet that's what it was. And apparently they had extended scenes that have his backstory and his motivations and why he's a jackass, and like, this would have all been really great stuff to keep in the movie, because then he wouldn't be such a generic villain. He is, on the other hand, the coolest fucking looking villain ever.
Okay. Well, that's getting a bit into design. So, all right. Well, now we're going to open up the cast discussion with some other standouts that we have not yet named, and I'm going to start this conversation by asking Idris Elba as Heimdall.
He does a lot of cool shit.
Oh my god.
So much bullshit.
Long-time listeners will know that when we reviewed the first Thor movie, Heimdall was hands down my favorite of the side characters, and I have to know, does he come back for Thor 2?
Oh yeah, he's there.
Of course. If they've got the Bifrost back up and running, that's where he's gonna be. That's his job. And yes, we even got the same actor back, and Idris Elba is fantastic. And Heimdall, played by Idris Elba, is fantastic. I am on board with this.
It was actually nice to see him kind of away from the Bifrost, because in the first movie, of course, all we saw him was around the Bifrost because he's the Guardian. And in this movie, the Bifrost is shut down for a small period of time, and he's just sort of chilling with Thor, like in a tavern. And it was kind of nice to see him like take off his helmet and have a beer.
Yeah.
Or an ale.
Yeah.
Or an ale, whatever. I don't even know that he was drinking anything. He was just sitting at a bar.
Another tankard of mead, good serving wench.
No, but that really needs to be a joke. Like, that's got to be the start of a joke. Like, Thor and Heimdall walk into a bar.
You'd think one of them would have thought to duck.
Isn't Heimdall, like, blind? Like, in mythology, isn't he blind? Or he's missing an eye or something?
No,
Odin was the one who was missing an eye.
Yeah, Heimdall was the one who could see basically everything.
Hold on. I'm going to look this up now, because I'm pretty sure there's a thing with Heimdall.
Yeah, and I like I said, I don't really know a lot of Norse mythology, but you got to see. I like the fact that this was definitely an expansion of the cast that first appeared in the first film, and so you get to see not only Heimdall be himself as the Guardian, he gets involved with Thor's scheme. He helps talk things out. He helps defend Asgard when it gets attacked.
So you actually get to see him kick ass and take names.
Yeah, like he takes down a whole ship by himself. And the ship's invisible, so he can't see it. So he's like, well, this is odd. What the fuck? Run. Stab, crash. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. So what other standouts among the cast did you guys notice?
There has to be Sir Anthony Hopkins as Odin. We got to see Odin not be asleep, which is always nice.
Yep.
Okay.
We got to see Odin kick ass.
How involved was he in this film?
Very involved.
Pretty involved. Yeah.
He falls into that category of not really a nice dad.
Really?
We kind of knew that from the first movie, but it just seems like I just watched so many things with dads who are kind of not great at being dads, and he's definitely one of them.
Nope, jerk dad of the year for sure.
Where do you get the not nice dad vibe from in this film?
Well, never mind the first movie, where he basically tells Loki to throw himself over a cliff. In this movie, he's very much, and I guess this is, I can understand from a parent's point of view, but he's basically saying, son, I don't want you getting involved with that mortal woman because she's gonna die and you're not. And he really comes off as, son, you're too good for the woman that you're desperately in love with, so go fuck yourself.
Not to mention, of course, the part where he's, being the whole, kingly, figurehead and saying, all of our people are gonna die, but we'll beat them anyway.
Yeah.
So that elevates him from jerk dad to just jerk god.
Well, it's jerk god, but like it's okay. We can die. Our race can die. We're like 1,000 some odd people, or the whole fucking universe could die. Where do you draw the line? Who gets the sacrifice? Who makes the bunt?
By that point in time in the movie, he is definitely not acting out in any way logically because he is.
Well, that's true.
Emotional.
True, yeah.
We'll say he's very emotional.
He was man, I want to kill those guys real bad. I don't care what it takes.
I'm gonna fuck them up.
So they're gonna die, and that is just a fact. The sun rises in the east, sets to the west, and these motherfuckers are getting their skulls stoved in.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
They do hate Earth though. They're like, fuck those people. Like, why did you bring her here? She's sick.
Yeah.
She has doctors.
Like, he was just such a jerk about Jane. And it was like, I don't know if he's really trying to protect his son or if he's just an asshole. Like, she can go die on her own planet. She's immortal. Fuck her.
Well, yeah.
What we're trying to say is, no offense to Sir Anthony Hopkins, he plays a great jerk dad.
Yes, he does. He's an excellent jerk dad.
Oh, well,
Okay.
yeah, he was very believable.
Now, do Sif and the Warriors 3 make a return appearance?
They do. Not all of their actors make a return appearance, but
There's one missing / replaced.
yeah. Well, he had to go and make oodles of money on a TV show, so I don't blame him because I watched that show. It was what's his name, Fandral?
Yes, Fandral.
Yeah.
The one that's Robin Hood.
Yes, he's Aaron Flynn, basically.
I think of him very much as Carrie Elways in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Because that's who he looks exactly like. And his actor is is one of the stars in Once Upon a Time on television, so he could not return for the movie, which was a little disappointing because I really liked the character, but it's good times. It's good times. His replacement was quite excellent.
Okay. What about the character of Sif? Because I kind of got the impression watching the first film that she
You
was
mean Sif?
Yeah, Sif. That's what I said.
You said Sif. You're adding
That's
an
how
E.
it's pronounced.
It's
That's
not-
how it's pronounced.
Okay.
Go watch Thor 1. That's how it's pronounced.
It's pronounced Sif.
Yeah, not in the original.
If I'm going to get yelled at for mispronouncing a character name,
We're all gonna get yelled at equally.
Okay, well, whatever. The not love interest.
I was
the badass sword chick. I kind of got the impression watching the first film that she was kind of harboring hidden feelings for Thor. Did they kind of explore that in the second film, or is that kind of just left dangling?
I am really glad that it played out the way that it did, because it really felt like they could lead up to a stupid love triangle that nobody wants, or a lot of Sif and Jane being catty with each other, and they didn't go that way, and I'm really glad they didn't, because that would have been a real drag, and nobody wants to see that.
yeah, there was a time that you should, they hinted you should go out with her.
Yeah, that's also Odin being a jerk dad. Why don't you date that pretty warrior girl? You know, the one who's been in love with you forever? You should go with her. Marry her. Become the king. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, but my mortal chick. She's hot.
So, yeah, I mean, she did all right when she was on screen, but unfortunately the Warriors 3 disappeared very quickly. One of them actually just left in the beginning of the film to hang out with his family, and the other two they showed up. Ray Stevens, who does Volstagg, and Fangirl, they stayed around for a while, but then the closer you got to the third act, when Thor's plan sort of got involved, here's our sort of moments of loyalty and yelling at Loki, and you don't see us for the rest of the film.
In their
Yeah, pretty
defense,
much.
they weren't really super necessary to the story, I guess. I mean, they could have been in there more and I would have been happy, but I didn't really go through it feeling like, oh, they really should have put this person in there.
Yeah, it was more along the lines of these characters have filled their obligations. Their storyline and or subplot is done. There's a bow, and here we go into the finale. I mean, I know some people were a little bit disappointed, but you have the third film coming up. I know there's going to be a third film, so there might be some more with them there. But in terms of this story, they served their purpose and they did fine.
Yeah, they were good.
Okay, so were there any other standout actors or actresses in this film that you thought did really well, or could probably been shunted off to the side?
Well, Kat Dennings could have been shunted off to the side because her character was wholly unnecessary. Stellan Skarsgård, on the other hand, we need to talk about him wandering around naked at Stonehenge, because if we don't talk about Stellan Skarsgård wandering around naked at Stonehenge, we're not doing our jobs.
Apparently, we have to talk about Stellan Skarsgård running around naked at Stonehenge.
Okay, the one who hasn't seen the movie is going to need some context.
Really?
There
You
is
need
not
context
enough.
for things?
There's no context. There's
is
still
virtually
Skarsgård
no
running
context.
around naked. It's so.
She's right. That's pretty much it, except that he's holding, scientific equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
the explanation he gives for this is, I've had a god inside my head. You try it sometimes. and see, that's where I had to add the caveat. There's almost no college toilet humor, because even though this doesn't quite qualify, it comes close enough that I'm not entirely comfortable giving this the, A+ okay for the entire family to go see, because there was, actual pixelated nudity in this film, and it was moderately
And also
amusing and moderately.
He spends a good 5 minutes without pants on.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Where are your pants?
Yes. I think better without them. Yes.
Like, the character of Eric Selvig is obviously a little messed up after being controlled by Loki in Avengers, and they show his bag, his quart or gallon plastic bag full of medication that he's on that makes him so messed up, and then eventually he just throws it away.
Yeah, that he probably chucks into a trash can as soon as he's off the hook.
Yeah. Because he's in a mental institute, because he's pretty much gone insane and running around naked at Stonehenge trying to save the universe. Selvig is another character who is sort of thrown into this movie to connect it to his previous, to Thor and to Avengers, and to he does some science, and he's there to basically explain the science when Jane isn't there to explain the science. And then he helps out and everything. Obviously him running around without pants or clothes at all is some comic relief. The Earth characters just seem to serve as comic relief at this point.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have mind seeing more of him, actually. Oh, whoa, that came out sounding really wrong. I mean, seeing more of that.
We've already seen all there is to see it.
In that film. Anyway, yes. Anyway, I mean, I would not have minded Stellan Skarsgård getting more screen time. There we go. That sounds much better. Because the character, especially with the whole, oh my god, the Tesseract fucked with my brain, now I'm all messed up thing. I mean, it would have been fun, I think, to see him attempting to struggle through interactions with the other characters and, see how he was coping with it. We could have had a nice little character development arc going there, but instead they chose to play him for comic relief, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
It definitely could have been better, but I also think that you could have not put Darcy at all in this movie and just had Stellan Skarsgård as a side character, and I would have been happy. It just bugs me that Kat Dennings is in this movie and her character is pretty much useless. I attest again, there's nothing that her character did that couldn't have been done by Stellan Skarsgård. Or,
oh god, now I'm picturing Stellan Skarsgård at the opening scene of the movie showing up at the diner with no pants. That would have been hilarious. You know what?
Well,
I'm on that boat with you. Let's just send Kat Dennings off to the ether, and Stellan Skarsgård can, it'll be fun.
Because not only did we get Darcy back into this movie, even though she didn't do anything in the first movie, we're going to bring her back for continuity's sake so she can not do anything in the second movie. But this time, the intern has an intern who does even less. Please, somebody tell me where this makes sense.
Well, to be fair, the intern does exactly one useful thing, maybe one and a half. The one useful thing he does is he gets Stellan Skarsgård, Eric Selvig, out of jail. He signs the paperwork that gets Eric Selvig. Which could easily
have been done by Jane or even Darcy.
No, Darcy. Darcy
yes,
might have.
Yes, it could have. Any one of them could have faked being his progeny.
Not
his child.
Jane. Wasn't she busy in the dark world at that point? Pretty sure she was. I'm pretty sure.
We're arguing apples to oranges here. So
yeah.
It's a moot point. Okay. So we talked a fair bit about the cast. We talked a fair bit about the script. So now let's get to what's the real meat and potatoes of the film. Let's talk about the design and the visual effects. So Brian, why don't you get us started on that?
Basically, the design and the visual effects is kind of twofold what they did. Because since we were allowed to basically sort of travel into Asgard, what they have done in set design a lot is take Old Norse sets, not sets, but aesthetics. Everything looks like it's from Norse, like godhoods, and Norway and things like that. It looks like it. They have the wooden chairs. Everything has that aesthetic to it. And then there's a little twist of sci-fi every so often, like the flying boats or the medical bed that they're on, or the cells that the prisoners were in. Everything it's familiar and a little bit different in the right sort of area where you sort of need it to be. And of course, like I said, this might bring up some people going, well, this isn't gods, they're aliens. I understand that, but when you go to a place that is full of gods, you kind of want it to be the most beautiful place in the world, and that's what they really tried to do here.
Okay. Kat?
I liked the aesthetics of it. It was nice to see more of Asgard, and Asgard not looking quite so much like an organ. Because it looked like a big shiny brass organ. And now it actually looks like a city, and we get to explore more of it. I thought that the kind of that weird combination of sort of the ancient Norse plus sci-fi, like laser cannons and shit. I'm willing to accept it because fuck you, it's magic.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't have to make sense. It's goddamn magic. So I don't care that it would almost seem inconsistent, except magic. I really liked it. I liked showing the different worlds, and then how all of the aesthetics of the different worlds, how they're different. I thought the filming that they did that's supposed to be on Earth, it was nice to not have it be like blowing up a huge city like every other movie. I mean, it was like London. And it was like, we're not going to destroy an entire city. We're just going to destroy some buildings, and we're going to blow up some stuff, but we're not going to like devastate New York, you know?
Though there is a weird trend I've been noticing lately. I'm not sure if it's in films. It's been films and a little bit of comics. We love to fuck with England. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it either gets destroyed or messed up or invaded now. It's like, did we piss them off? Are we revolting again?
Yes, we did piss them off. We threw them out of our country. That's how we pissed them off.
We did it with a tea party. I mean, it doesn't take much to offend them.
Apologies to all of our British listeners.
So sorry. Thank God Sky Blaze isn't here.
Okay. So what were some of the standout visuals in this film?
I think it was just mostly Asgard. Because the Dark World is Ash, and on Earth they were in London and Greenwich. So most of the gloriousness that was some of the special effects came from Asgard.
You know what was a big special effect that I couldn't decide if I liked it or not was the ether itself.
Like the liquid blood thing.
Yeah, it in some scenes it looked kind of like cheesy and like fake, like, but deliberately fake, and then some scenes it didn't, and I don't know if it was just like the particular lighting of that scene or what, but it struck me as kind of weird. Maybe because I wasn't expecting it to be like liquid.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was supposed to have that sort of effect on viewers, because it was supposed to be kind of obvious that it was something not of this world. Something that's, is just weird and out there and probably dangerous. And, you're right. In some scenes it looked more natural than others. But, I mean, that's maybe that's part of the angle they were taking. Just using the ether as a means to visually keep people off balance. Or maybe I'm just overthinking this a whole lot. Either way, you're both right. I mean, a lot of the visual effects were, Asgard and parts of the Dark World, especially the spaceship. The spaceship involved lots of visual effects.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, but costumes, another part of the visuals of the movie. God, the costumes in this movie are so excellent. Like, first off, Frigga's outfits are freaking amazing, and I want everything she wears. But I really thought that Malekith and the Dark Elves looked really cool.
The Dark Elves looked a little bit creepy, because I never like masks that have no expressions on them. Like that
was creepy as fuck.
That bothers me.
Wow, you must have been terrorized by Imperial stormtroopers as a child.
No, the Imperial stormtroopers had a frown face.
They have a frown face. These just have like holes for the eyes.
Yeah, they have eye holes and that's kind of it.
They're sort of Slenderman-ish, maybe.
Yeah,
sort of like white and sleek and creepy. Malekith looked totally cool. I really liked. It was interesting. Like the further it got into the movie, after he sort of absorbed the ether, his skin got really dark, and he looked like really, really wicked cool.
Okay.
And they kept focusing on his hair. I don't know if anybody really noticed that, but like he's kind of a badass, so he's always like turning and walking away, and they're always like, "Look at his hair, so pretty."
Okay.
I think I missed that.
It was like every scene that he was in, he turned and walked away from the camera, and it's like his hair is like. I just noticed a lot about his hair. I'm sorry. I'm not obsessed or anything.
He's a walking L'Oreal commercial because I'm worth it.
Attention duelists, my hair has challenged you to watch this hair product commercial. Or something like that. That kind of got away from me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
that joke was bad, and you should feel bad.
Paincliffe.
Moving on.
Okay. So now we talked about the visuals of the film. Now let's get to the audio candy with the soundtrack. And I recall the orchestral score to the original Thor being very bombastic and epic and mighty. Does that hold up in the second film at all?
Yes. I mean, there are subtleties. But I feel like, there's definitely lots of pomp and circumstance and bombast where appropriate.
Here's something where I'm actually kind of gonna be cat here, is that I'm not being overly impressed with some of the soundtracks lately, and I don't know what it is, but they're all starting to sound alike to me now. Especially with the Marvel ones. Like if I listened to some of the soundtracks after I got home, I was like, I can't tell which movies these are from now. Like, they all sound the same. Which one's this from? Oh, it's the Avengers. I could have sworn it was Thor. Oh, is this... No, Thor 2? Okay. See, it's getting to the point where they're sounding a lot... Very, just generic, almost. Like, yeah, it's big and epic. Yeah, that's what we wanted. Yay. But I couldn't possibly pick them apart now.
The only thing I remember about the soundtrack for the first Thor was that the song that played during the credits really didn't match the movie at all.
Well, that takes us right back to the first film where they played Real Big Fish or Smashing Pumpkins in the first.
Something like that.
I don't think it was Real Big Fish. I would know if Real Big Fish was in the Thor movie because I'd be the only one in the audience going, "Hey, hey."
I just remember being pissed. Pissed off that they didn't play a heavy metal song over the end credits.
Right, once again, it was like, okay, well, that was the only thing I noticed was that there wasn't some weird rock song that didn't feel appropriate. Like it felt like, okay, that's the credits, and not like, what the hell is this song doing in the credits?
REM, you're not supposed to be here.
Go away, Linkin Park. Nobody wants your hair.
Like we're naming bands, we don't remember the fucking band that played the song.
That really doesn't speak well of them, really.
Nope. But yeah, that's...
But I just like, I mean, these are Vikings. Like, 1 out of every 3 metal songs is about these guys. You sure you can't sign the rights away to a Manowar song or two? Come on, work with me here.
Wait for the third movie when Ragnarok happens. I'm pretty sure they'll sneak one in there. Can I mention something real quick? Because it did bother me.
Okay.
This kind of goes a little bit into the visuals and the soundtrack and stuff like that, and that is the mid-credit scene. Because if you walk out early in a Marvel film, I don't know why. Like, has no one told you this? Just stay and wait, like ever. Like, how many we're up to now, and you still leave? Anyway, out of that. So they have the mid-credit scene, which is gonna obviously play into next year's Guardian of the Galaxies. And I don't know if it was just me, but it stuck out like a sore fucking thumb. To the point where it was like, I don't even think this is obviously not the same movie, because it's Thor and Asgardians and everything, and oh hi, random pink alien girl walking funny and doing weird bowel motions. What are you doing here? And then what's his face shows up, the Collector. He shows up and he's like, oh hi, you have a lot of eyeliner on. Where are we?
Yeah, it was very weird to be in the Thor credits. Like it felt like it felt like another movie. It was completely different. It's very odd, but it was exciting though.
It's exciting because you get the whole you see what they're finally building up to with Thanos and the Infinite Gems. You're like, aha, okay, I kind of makes sense. But yeah, it was very weird. I even read that the director of the film despised the mid-credit scene. And the reason he despised it is because it was rushed at the last minute and they had ran out of money.
Oh, wow.
So that's probably why it looked a little strange.
So disjointed and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? As long as we're talking about the end credit scenes though, which I totally agree, Marvel films, you don't just walk out on the credits because they love their stinger endings more than Gore Verbinski. And so, yeah, I think I know where the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tie-in is going to be. It's got to be the bit right at the very end, after,
yeah, I know the one you're talking about now.
Yep, where we see the monster. Sorry. Yes?
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the monster who got spawned and pitched into London from another world during the climactic final conflict, due to gravitational fluxes and portals and shit. It showed.
Because
I'm not fucking kidding. But, last 3 seconds of the film are this gigantic, weird-ass monster gallivanting about the London slums chasing birds. I'm betting that the S.H.I.E.L.D. team has to go clean that shit up. Because, we clearly can't have whatever the hell that was running around London loose, free as a bird. Figuratively speaking, he was chasing the birds.
Well, okay, all right.
Because this movie had 2 stingers, I think if they'd have switched the 2, it would have been a little better.
I see what you're saying. Maybe a little bit. It wouldn't be as disjointed.
Right, because it would be like right at the end, and you would associate it with something different now that the movie is officially over.
Yeah, I can see that.
That makes a lot. I like that. Yeah.
And just so we don't miss it, if we're done talking about that, can we please talk about Captain America in this movie?
Oh God, yes. Oh,
okay, Kat, the floor is yours.
Oh my God! So the scene is that Thor has helped Loki escape from his jail cell, and Thor is escorting Loki away so that they can work together to save his MacGuffin girlfriend. And they're walking down the halls, and we're going to look a little conspicuous like this. And Loki, being the trickster who does illusion magic, is as they're walking, illusioning the two of them to look different. So he makes Thor look like Sif. And there is a part where Loki makes himself into Captain America. And is go. He's like, well, maybe I'd like me to look like one of your new friends. And he's going down the halls, Captain America. He's like talking like Captain America, saying, "Hey, let's talk about truth, justice, and patriotism." Like, oh my god.
God, I love freedom.
It did come. That came out of nowhere because we weren't expecting cameos, and then Chris Evans shows up. You're like, ho.
I don't know what you're doing here, but it's awesome. Do more of it.
Because I'm pretty sure that was Chris Evans. I don't think Chris Evans had a script. They're like, God, just do what you normally do. He's like, done.
Pretend like you're Loki being Captain America. Done. Sold. Like it was such a beautiful moment where you just completely didn't think that was going to happen. I don't even know if he was in the credits or not.
No, he remained uncredited.
Oh yeah, because otherwise people would have found out that he was going to be in the movie.
Yep.
So like they just kept it a big secret, and then you're just walking along, and you're like, Thor is a girl. That's funny. Oh my God, Chris Evans. Like it was just so like unexpected and marvelous and wonderful.
Yeah, I will admit, when he said, well, how about one of your new friends, I was half expecting him to, be smarmy and grating and pretend to be Jane Foster, and then just, get all up in Thor's face, and instead, they walk past the pillar and BAM! Captain America! Oh man, that was brilliant. And you're totally right. I think Chris Evans, they had him improvise, and he had fun with it.
I think it's the second time that's actually the second time that they've done that, because I don't know if you guys remember the stinger to Iron Man 3 where Mark Ruffalo makes an appearance as Bruce Banner.
Yeah, that was really good.
Right.
But that was like the stinger. This was in the smack middle of the movie.
Yep.
I'm wondering if they had to figure out we want a cameo here. Who can we get? What can we do? Maybe we can have Hulk show up and he can punch him again.
I think Loki genuinely would not disguise himself as Mark Ruffalo, because I think he's probably genuinely afraid of the Hulk.
Yep.
At this point, I mean, after Puny God.
Puny God.
But you know what? It was kind of like the Puny God moment, where it's like something you never could have imagined that would happen, and then flap, Loki is a ragdoll. And it's like, how did that even happen? Why is this amazing? And that was the moment.
Okay. All right. Any other big standout moments to talk about?
I think that's everything.
Okay. All right. So this is We've really been talking about this for an hour oh no, that's just the call length. Okay, never mind. Okay, because I'm looking at the time, it says 1 hour and 43 minutes. Like, shit, really? We've been talking about this movie for almost 2 hours? No. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're gonna sum up our final thoughts on Thor 2: The Dark World. So, Brian, final thoughts on the film?
In terms of what I felt about it, I liked it a lot. It had some meandering moments, but I feel like any movie that actually goes beyond, it was like almost 2-hour movie, has those moments, but it was sort of made up for later on in the film. So I like this actually a lot better than I liked Iron Man 3 in terms of the 2 Marvel movies that came out this year.
Okay, Kat, what about you?
I loved this movie. Again, I had some issues with it, but I'm probably going to go see this movie again, I'll be honest. I'll probably see it at least once more. It was really good. Just good, fun popcorn flick.
Okay. Brendan, what about you?
I don't know that I'll be going to see it again, but I definitely enjoyed seeing it in the theaters the one time that I did. It was totally worth the admission price. Again, as everyone else here has said, not a perfect film, but really very, very good, very polished for what it is. If you're into superhero movies, this is one you probably want to catch while it's still in theaters. Get all the bombast and explosions at full face value. And while I probably won't be seeing it again in theaters, I'll definitely be picking it up on DVD to watch again in the comfort of my own home.
Okay. All right, so now this is the part of the review where we give our final rating on the film. As always, our scale goes from best to worst. See it now, wait for the matinee, wait for DVD, wait for rental, wait for cable, don't even bother, and the Brian score of fuck this movie. So Brian, what is your rating for this film?
Still laughing because I have my own score. I rate this as go see it now. Definitely go see it now. Enjoy yourselves. It's the first volley of the holiday films coming. Go and enjoy it.
Okay, Kat, what about you?
Go see it now. Yes, it's so good. Just go watch it.
Okay, and Brendan?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the rest of the crowd on this. Go see this film. You probably won't regret it.
Okay.
Unless Stellan Skarsgård naked scares you half to death. In which case, wait for the matinee.
In which case, you're not human because Stellan Skarsgård is amazing.
Okay. All right, so we got 3 see it now. So yeah, that's Thor 2, The Dark World, and that is all the time that we have for Nerd to the Third Power this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll see you next week. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the Cat.
I'm the Brian.
And I'm the Blast Seeker.
All right, we'll see you next week. Taka, play us out.